All right, we are live. Folks, trickle in here a minute. I'm going to arrange some stuff on my screens. Welcome, welcome. Come on in, everybody. This is the Warriors of Truth and Justice live stream. All of us here today, I'm going to introduce everybody shortly, but everybody on this panel, so to speak, or in this adventuring party, if you will, is a speaker at Confluence coming up April 5th through 8th. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about that event. There's a link to it in the show notes if you're interested in this event. And there's going to be tons of gravy in this conversation because everybody here is totally on the level, so to speak. And yeah, come on in, say what's up. Hey, Texas boys in the house, Jim Cron, Dan Phillips, welcome, folks. Rogue Spear acting as our admin bot, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. So I just came back. Well, a couple weeks ago, I came back from Anarco Poco. I got the shirt on. I'm in my greenhouse right now. It's a balmy 25, 27 degrees Celsius, which is 80 something Fahrenheit, and it's freezing outside, but it's lovely in the greenhouse right now. So we're gonna have fun on this stream, folks. So okay, I'm gonna pull up something here, a slide. And I'm going to introduce all of our amazing speakers here today. Oops, something here on this. Excuse me as I toggle around with Zoom for a second. All right. So all of us are coming today because we're all speaking at this conference coming up in Texas called Confluence, and it's going to be an awesome event and a bunch of great speakers there. We've got 5 of them here today with you guys, which I'll introduce shortly. But this event is coming up, and this is similar to Anarco Poco, but I'd say it's a little bit more orientated to, well, it's on a regenerative farm, and it's maybe orientated to things such as that than maybe just discussions of anarchism and whatnot, which is what we came from. And myself, Mike Winter, and Alec, and Brad from 5 Times August, we were all down at Anarco Poco, but we're all speaking at Confluence here, and it's going to be a great event. And if you guys like what we're talking about today, I would highly encourage you to go and check it out. It is there's a link in the show notes there. You can also get a discount on your ticket if you follow that link. And yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our ragtag group of adventurers here. All right, folks. So we've got Amanda Vollmer. We got Brad from 5 Times August. We've got Alec from The Way Forward. We've got Brandon Joe Williams, myself, and Mike Winter. And we are the adventurers, the warriors of truth and justice. And we've all got a special class. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons today. And I kind of had fun thinking about this because I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. Apparently, Mike Winter did as well. But we've got Amanda Vollmer here. Amanda Dawn Vollmer holds a degree of Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine from a Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine in Toronto and a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Biotechnology. Amanda, affectionately known as ADV, is a renowned health expert and best-selling author with an impressive breadth of knowledge on natural healing and holistic wellness practices. With over 20 years of experience in the field, ADV is sought after speaker and educator who has inspired countless individuals to take control of their health and live vibrant, thriving lives. And she's got some links down there. Her website, yummy.doctor. She's on X, she's on Instagram, she's on Telegram. I think her biggest following is probably maybe on Telegram. That's where I follow her. And Amanda, I've assigned as the class Druid. So druids have unique abilities that allow them to change into various animal forms and various other qualities that exist that assist them in natural settings. So Amanda is our druid. We've got Brad Skistimas from 5 Times August. I met Brad down at Anarco Poco. Incredible musician. 5 Times August is the solo act. Singer-songwriter Brad Skistimas. Skistimas has appeared on Fox Business Channel as an expert, do-it-yourself indie artist, and featured in Billboard magazine, performing songwriter, guitar player, People magazine, and USA Today. He was the first completely unsigned act to have an album distributed in Walmart station stores nationwide in the 2007s. The Independent. The music has been featured on many popular TV shows, commercials, and films, and tour dates have been supported with some of the nation's top acts. And you can find him on X at 5timesaugust, his site 5timesaugust.com, and on YouTube as well. And Brad has a ton of wicked truther music videos that you probably would have seen during the COVID scamdemic. And I've assigned Brad, I think appropriately, as a bard. He's the songwriter, the charmer of the group. The bard class is versatile, capable of combat and of magic. Bards use their artistic talents to include magical and to include induce magical effects. Next, we've got Alec Zeck. Alec Zeck is an independent researcher, podcaster, speaker, writer, former Army captain. Consistently one of the highest ranking alternative health podcasts in the world. Alec is the founder and chief storyteller of The Way Forward, an organization focused on educating, empowering, and uniting men and women in all walks of life in pursuit of health, liberty, and consciousness. And the producer of the viral education series, The End of COVID. He is also the former executive director of the Foundation of Health Freedom for Humanity. Alec received his BS in systems engineering and from the United States Military Academy at West Point. His links are there. He's on X. He's on Apple Podcasts. I think that's where most people follow him. And his website is thewayforward.com. And I've assigned Alec as a paladin. He's our warrior, our front man in the battle for truth and justice. A paladin is a holy knight crusading in the name of good and order and is a divine spellcaster. Next, we got Brandon Joe Williams. And I hope I got this one right on him. I had to scour a bunch of his stuff to find something consolidated as a bio. His website is pretty hilarious. Brandon is a lawyer, is a human pickle, teaches others how to move out of the country on paper without physically moving out of the country. Quote, I am a soldier of God, and my two main weapons are education and forgiveness. I'm the founder of the Nation of the Amnesty Coalition. What we do is forgive all the people involved in the feeding and current matrix that does nothing but create slaves out of people in society. All of his links there. His website, One Stupid Fuck. We'll probably have some profanity in this one, so folks, stay tuned or move or maybe get the kids out of the room if that's an issue for you. But we'll be getting into some deep stuff with Brandon. I'm pretty sure he's on X at One Stupid Fuck and Instagram. And I've assigned Brandon as a wizard. A wizard uses arcane magic and is considered less effective in melee combat than other classes. And lastly, we got Mike Winner from AlphaCast. Mike Winner is considerable technical acumen, more than justifies his role as Alpha Vedic's technical director, but his natural inclination is to perceive the grander patterns superseding technology. Mike's knack as a techie was apparent at an early childhood and has channeled that present through his success and his production coordinator, filmmaker and web designer and programmer. Mike's positioning on the technical edge is impassioned by the possibility of planetary transformation facilitated through this medium, never as an end to itself. His links, alphavedic.com, Telegram, Instagram, and YouTube, all there. I've assigned Mike as a cleric, but I originally had him as a rogue, and so maybe he might be better suited there. But clerics are powerful healers due to a large number of healing and curative magics available to them. And I've assigned myself the ranger. I'm not going to bother with my introduction. You guys know who I am, but I'm a warrior of the wilderness. Rangers specialize in hunting the monsters that threaten the edges of civilization, and we are the warriors of truth and justice, folks. That is my introduction, and I want to welcome everybody to the stream. I'm going to bring everybody in here and unmute everybody. Or can you guys unmute yourself? Unmute yourselves there. All right, folks, welcome. How was that introduction? What do you guys think of that? Was I somewhat on in your D&D character classification?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely liking the cleric more than the rogue, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the cleric is like wielding magical powers in service of good, coming from a higher power, where rogue's a bit of a scoundrel. So,
well, that's why I moved you to cleric, Mike, because I didn't feel like you were a scoundrel. Like your physique when I first met you, I was like, yeah, Mike could be a rogue. He's nimble. You're fit. You're tall. I kind of thought you could have been a wizard too, but I don't know. So how's everybody doing?
I like Han Solo, man, as a Star Wars fan, and he's a
Yeah,
bit of a scoundrel.
I should have been the rogue, I guess.
you could have been a rogue too. I feel like Amanda though, bang on as the
Hang
druid,
on.
the natural healing and all that.
Yeah, I'll just walk out of the forest. You're just walking around. It's like, oh, hello, and just pop out with
He pops out.
something from
Yeah,
a tree.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, hey Alec, do you want to say anything about Confluence before we just kind of jump into whatever?
Yeah, so Confluence is, it's hard to describe what it is, but it's kind of like a music festival meets a conference meets a farmer's market meets I don't know what else, but it's a combination of all those things in one place. It really is such an incredible event. And if you're in or around Texas, or even if you're outside of Texas, I highly recommend coming. It's going to be a pretty incredible event. Obviously, all the people that you see here will be speaking, as well as Eileen McCusick, Dr. Andy Kaufman, Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan, and a number of other incredible people. And the topics that will be covered will definitely be solutions oriented and readily applicable in your day-to-day life, especially if you're aware of all of the issues and various agendas that are at play. And what's awesome about this event, relative to other events, I'd say the only two events that are similar in this respect that I'm about to say that I can name off the top of my head are Winter's event that he puts on, Music and Sky, and then also I'd say largely Anarchapulco this year, from my experience, is that it consists primarily of people who are already very aware of what's going on and are sort of done playing those games and done being emotionally reactive to said games and are ready to just start formulating ideas surrounding a new way of being. And that's the really refreshing aspect of Confluence, is that you'll be surrounded with people who are already on the same page and are just looking towards creating a new paradigm. Amanda, Winter, did I speak to it well enough? Because you attended last year.
Yeah, and the food is amazing. I mean, I would go just eat the food. It was beyond what you can. I mean, Canada, the food here is just, it's so terrible. You have to know the farmer, and even a lot of the farmers, they're still vaccinating their cows and using chemicals on them, and the soils are damaged. They're not really doing regenerative style and permaculture farming like Molly's doing, and her story is amazing, and where she comes from as a chef too. So just to support her endeavor alone, and the food aspect of it is enough to buy a ticket. But then we're all there too, so it's like the
Right.
coolest place to be.
That's the thing that I forgot to mention, is the food at this event. I think you'd be hard pressed to find another event where you will be served food like this that is regeneratively grown, all organic, and is coming from the farm that you are, at the event on, or from another farm that is owned by the same people who are putting on the event. So it really is truly a farm to table eating experience. And you'll be hard pressed to find that at another event. And the food really is incredible. I will say that even even if the pizza is regeneratively made, so to speak, if you eat 8 pizzas in 4 days, you'll still feel like shit, as I experienced myself. So just keep that in mind. But it was it was the food was incredible. So and then just the environment. There's camping options, glamping options, car camping, RV camping, bring your own tent options, and we have workshops. There's a magnesium rich pond to swim on site that will actually have some DJ sets. Winter will probably be DJing next to that pond. So I can't really say poolside DJ sets, but you get the picture. And some incredible musical acts, just incredible speakers and incredible people to be around. So it's going to be an awesome event. And then the other piece is, it's during the total solar eclipse on April 8th. And the location of the event is in the direct path of the total solar eclipse. So that's another important thing to note. So yeah, please come join if you can, to hang out with all of us and be around like-minded people.
And I'm bringing my 12-year-old daughter, so you get to meet her. And my husband is also going to play a set as well, which is, really big for him because he's been sort of out of the loop as a musician for a long time. COVID really kiboshed a lot of things for him, so it's a really big deal for someone like him. And also, he has a stammer. He's had a stammer his whole life. And so it really hindered his progress as a musician because he couldn't speak, he couldn't talk, but he can sing. So I'm really excited for this family affair for us as well. And the total eclipse, it will be interesting. Have you guys been seeing any weird conspiracy stuff about this particular one? It's sort
Oh
of
yeah.
weird.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I've been
man.
making a backup plan, so if the shit goes down while I'm down there, that I can get home to my family as soon as possible. But hopefully,
Well,
it's
we were
nothing
talking about that, man.
ridiculous.
Like you're saying schools in your neck of the wood are planning on not having school on Monday
They're
because of
closing
it.
schools in some of these areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? Well, we're gonna close school for the eclipse. It's not like, oh, we're gonna close school for snowfall. We're gonna close it for the eclipse. What's that?
It might
I
be
saw.
because it shows something important and they don't want them to look at it.
Go ahead, Brad.
I heard that like the pathway, there's like, I don't know, a whole bunch of cities that are the same name that it aligns with. Is that a real thing? I don't even know what name of the city is, but somebody told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I don't know.
saying
Nothing.
it's pretty. I think there's a lot of fear around it, but I think more it's either they're going to use it as a false flag, cyber attack gig. My concern is if they do something or pull something, affect the flights back.
I know exactly.
But
Amanda.
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Probably nothing. Probably
I'll be
just
dropping
fun.
the dopest into the world set if that happens.
Ever.
So we'll be raging.
We'll just keep partying. We'll just
Yeah,
keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
It won't be the
I'll
end of the
say this
world.
about Confluence, like, and Music and Sky and these events. This is the new model. Like, this is the new sort of festival. It's these micro festivals that, like, when you come to these things, the way, like, the resonating vibe that you get there is so different than if you've gone to like Coachella or any of these other, like, even these like consciousness festivals. Like right now, Envision's going on in Costa Rica, and that's a great festival. I have a lot of friends there. But it's a little bypassy there, and I don't want to, talk shit on it, but because, one of my friends is a partner in it and stuff, and he'll even kind of agree though, like there isn't that element of like the higher sort of minded truthfulness of the people going there. Still, there was still a little bit in first grade, and here, like, I will say, man, like the talk on law and like spiritual law and like just the embodiment of health and wellness too, that you see, especially at like Confluence and Music and Sky, because people are super tapped into their health. It's just really refreshing, and you just feel like it's nourishing to be there around these people. So if you guys have never been to one of these events, I highly, highly recommend figuring out a way to come to Confluence, because it is, it's really, I know a lot of people, it's changed their lives going to these events. And like with Music and Sky, I know people have found their mate and gotten married now from people they met at Music and Sky. So it's really exciting to see. This is like the new Aquarian, if you will, or like this new model, these micro festivals of like grounded in truth that are popping up. And shout out to Alec and Eileen and Molly for really doing this, because it's a phenomenal event.
How many people were there last year?
I think in total 130 were there last year, and for this year we're already at, and that's including like staff and everything like that. So it was relatively small last time, but it was our first event. So this one we've already sold roughly 140 tickets. So we're expecting like 250 plus people there this time. So it'll be,
Yeah, because you sell a bunch
cool.
at the end, as conferences always do.
Dude, that's always the scary thing with event planning, because you like front all this money at the very beginning, and you're just hoping that enough people will buy tickets to break even towards the end. But once you get to the event and experience it, it all ends up being worth it. Like all the hard work that goes into putting these things on and organizing them always ends up being worth it in the end. And it's just such an incredible experience. It's hard to put words to. I want to know what's if I can jump and ask a question. What is Brandon Joe Williams thinking right now? That's what I want to know.
I am part of the audience. I am part of the audience right now. I am enjoying the conversation. I am listening. I'm new to all of this, so I feel very
You're
blessed
like, what
to
the
be
hell did you get
invited.
yourself into?
I
That's what
feel
you're
very
thinking.
blessed to be invited. I'm very excited. When I started getting into everything that I do in research, I lost all social contact with everything and everyone, and everything from bank accounts to where I was living to my employment situation. Everything kind of just fizzled away very rapidly. So I'm very excited to meet new people who are excited to what I'm doing, which is new. You guys are very excited about what I'm doing. A lot of people are in my life were very, very, very terrified of what I'm doing. So,
Well, dude, I want to know about that about you. So, because I've watched some of your videos, I didn't know who you were until Alec told me, but I watched some of your videos. I'm like,
Yeah,
holy
and you
fuck,
guys are
man,
you guys are
this
roommates
guy
at
is
Confluence, by the way. So like, there you go, meet up.
yeah, what's
hang
up,
out.
Rumi?
So yeah, me and
Bestie, we're
Alec
gonna
are
do like
roomies.
late night patty cake,
That's
dude.
gonna
You ready?
be
Oh yeah, we had the
amazing.
like conversations at 3 a.m. But I want to know, dude, what the fuck is going on with your stuff? Because are you actually like a bar member? The red pills you're
No,
throwing on
God,
your
no.
videos. You're not. Okay. So you're not a
Jesus.
practicing lawyer, but you were at one point, right?
No, so no one knows this, which is hilarious because there's literally articles on the Bar Association website. There's two different types of lawyers. There's an attorney at law and attorney in fact. Attorney at law is a bar card holder who went to school and all the fun stuff that I would rather lay down on train tracks than do. They're held to certain standards, and then what they do is they basically the definition of the word client when it comes to bar cards and attorneys at law, it means that they represent infants and persons of unsound mind. So what that means is that because you are essentially legally retarded, which means that you cannot handle your day-to-day events and you cannot present or communicate yourself in a court of law, you have to hire someone who then presents on your behalf. And the way that that works is representation is essentially a parent type situation where the parent, or you hire someone to be your parent or trustee, and that attorney at law essentially stands in your stead, and you waive your rights, and you can't really say much of anything after that point because you are then labeled as an infant or person of unsound mind. So the way that it works is there's a secondary option that no one knows exists, and there's hardly any of us that are out there, and I plan on changing that, called an attorney in fact. An attorney in fact basically operates through contractual agreements, meaning let's say that you wanted to get open heart surgery by somebody who is not licensed and they've never done it in their life. You can actually legally do that through a contract. You can legally do anything through a contract. It supersedes all law because contracts are essentially the god of all law here, right? You can actually contract into anything. You could actually legally contract yourself into being a sex slave, and it would actually be legal. So an attorney, in fact, operates through contracts, and there's one particular contract called a power of attorney. And you can get anyone to sign a power of attorney, and you'll see this kind of thing with like grandma. She's getting old, starting to lose her mind a little bit, she's getting some Alzheimer's or whatnot, and you're going to take over her estate. That's an attorney in fact. You often hear it as conservatorship, but it's actually an attorney in fact situation where through a power of attorney, she has to be lucid enough to actually sign it. The notary is going to check that. If they know what they're doing as a notary, they're going to check and make sure that she's lucid enough to know what she's signing. But as long as you get it done before she loses her facilities entirely, then you become the attorney in fact over grandma. So I am the attorney in fact with all of my clients, and I would not take a bar card if they tried to pay me $1 million to take it for free.
Great explanation. So are you essentially working with them in a private capacity then?
So the way it works in law in the actual courts is that I cannot represent you. I cannot stand in your stead as you become a infant or person of unsound mind. What I do is I assist you to present yourself as a full-blown adult man or woman. And through the power of attorney, we can actually reserve all your rights. There's a few terms you can do: all rights reserved. You can do without prejudice, or you can just say, I reserve all my rights. And we actually do that with you during the power of attorney process. The only rights that I ever have people waive is the right to grant jurisdiction and the right to sign financial instruments without having a payee on the financial instrument, which is a long explanation. But there's two things specifically that I have my clients waive the right to do, because these are the two areas that all the bar cards want to trick you in all the time. And it's the two big, huge monster landmines. So besides those two things, which the clients are extremely relieved to give up the right to do so because they do it all the time without knowing that they're doing it, and I can oversee that and prevent that from happening. Besides that, all other rights are fully reserved throughout the entire relationship. So the courts treat you in an entirely different manner. Pro se litigants, there's actually full-blown case law. The bar, not the bar card, but like the bar, the standard of somebody who's a pro se litigant, the courts are actually supposed to go a lot more lenient on you, and they're actually supposed to assist you gently through the process. They can't necessarily give you legal advice, but the stringent procedure that a bar card would be held to is not something that a pro se litigant has to deal with. So it's actually easier. Plus, I'm going to be there helping you. Plus, my right-hand man, Joey Kimbrough, is going to be there helping you. Plus, you've already learned a lot before you even become a client. So it's a cool relationship that I think, because it's still kind of new, I think a lot of my clients are going to become attorneys, in fact, and join my group. So we're kind of creating our own team members as well through the process of them being a client.
I love it. I love it. And I know Amanda and I have had a discussion about law in the past, and we both agreed, Amanda, that going into the court pro se has always been the best way to just get what you want. And of course, the challenge of that can be is that if you just don't know what you're doing, you can flip up. But I've always experienced that the courts are a lot more easier on you, if you will, when you're standing in your own capacity representing yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an impressive to a lot of the people out there. It's impressive to the judges. It's not impressive to the bar cards. The bar cards hate you.
No, they want their little monopoly.
Yeah, but the judges, even though they are technically a lot of times bar card holders, they're pretty cool with it. They're pretty happy to see us, as long as we are not belligerent, which often happens, and as long as we are not submitting 6,000 page
Affidavits.
no, it's yeah. I don't even know if I'd call it an affidavit. It's more like a manifesto. That's the word that we always use. Very, very, very kind of like a hilarious little play on words, manifesto, right? So
when that happens, do they try to cite nonsense like paper terrorism?
well, I actually don't disagree with them. A 5,000 page affidavit's ridiculous. Totally unnecessary, totally ridiculous. It's filled with emotional, psychopathic jargon. A lot of times there's threats of violence in those documents. Yeah, it's not something that anyone would want to read, whether you're a bar card or whether you're not, or whether you're, it doesn't matter who you are. You wouldn't want to read that. So yeah, I do not think that necessarily this whole paper terrorism thing is completely insane. I think it's actually, there's a lot of people trying to do this that I would probably do a lot of the same actions that the judges are doing to them, to be honest with you.
What do you think about all that, Amanda?
Yeah, oh, I agree. It's a real big, I mean, I'm glad that it's getting out more, that we have different types of law that we can approach. And, I've delved into equity procedures and different types of ecclesiastical law, even in my past. But it all boils down to contract law as the one that gets the job done. So, I mean, like, you can be philosophical all you want, but if you're trying to have a negotiation with an entity like, the government, where you've already contracted with them, then you need to renegotiate your contracts. And you don't necessarily want out of all your contracts all the time too, because if you still want benefits, like if you're still using licenses or you're still interacting with them so you can drive on the roads and things, like you just want to make sure they know that you know who you are in your standing, right? And I mean, I put a judge on oath before. I've done some crazy things that probably should have landed me in jail that didn't. But but that was my learning phase. I had to go through kind of the hard knocks of it. And I think now we're past a point where people they don't need to do that as much because we have more and more education around it and more information that they can learn. And we have to know this now. Like, we can't just skirt by. We need to have our fee schedule. We need to be able to negotiate. We need to be able to stand up for ourselves. We need to be able to protect ourselves from corruption. Like, I might have to do another round with CRA and just put them on their, ask them some serious questions about who they think they are to me, because they've been harassing me. And I called out their fraud, so they went silent for a long while. But I think they're like, okay, let's try her here, let's try her there. So it's always a test of your growth and your knowledge. But I feel it's a spiritual process, because it's about knowing who you are, where you are, and what you're willing to do for truth and for justice, and not get pulled into the drama of the court system and become like the imbecile. That's why you don't hire a lawyer, like a bar lawyer, like that, like Brandon was saying.
Wouldn't you say, Amanda, that ideally you never want to go into court, though?
No,
Right?
you don't. No.
No.
And that was at the beginning. I really, unless you're negotiating something and you can't see eye to eye with the other person, right? Like, that was really what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a mediator situation. If you couldn't negotiate between two parties, right? But
last straw sort of thing.
Yeah.
I love court. I'm going to court for everything. If there's someone just even sneeze at me the wrong way, we're going straight to federal court. But that's just, I get irritated because they're, most of these organizations, especially the financial organizations, they just ignore you. Ignore you. They ain't going to ignore you in court. So for me, it's you get one letter. I know you're going to ignore it. Go ahead and ignore it. And then boom, we're in court. You're talking to me. I love it. But I guess that's just, I want to teach all this. So by the time I teach
Brandon,
all
matters
this,
what your intention is.
Yeah.
Because what is
you're
your
talking
goal
about settling
here?
when you're talking about settling disputes man to man. You're talking.
Yes, like I'm talking about right now, how a neighbor is he's contracted with Verizon to put a cell tower up right by my house in my beautiful forest. And I'm gonna basically issue him a notice of liability with an affidavit of fact. I don't need to go to court with him because I'm gonna build the hell out of him to the point where I know him. He's like, I know who he is. Like, I think it's gonna basically come to the point where he's like, damn, I don't want to have to deal with this. And then I do it in the right way. I shouldn't have to go to court with that. I'm not
he'll probably just settle outside.
I'm not going to be dealing straight with Verizon, right? It's just a gentleman here who doesn't know better. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Brandon, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So there's different theories on what backs the currency. Some will say it's a future labor interest deposit. Some will say it's simply anytime you endorse a specific way that the currency is then created by the Federal Reserve at that moment. Some will say it's one or the other. Some will say it's both. What are your thoughts on what actually backs the currency of the United States and the world?
Well, the Emergency Banking Act is from 1933, and then the Social Security Act is from 1935.
The Maternity Act would play into that, though, with the birth certificate, right? That's 1921.
Yeah, but it wasn't until 1933 when they removed the gold standard completely. That's when you have the HGR 192 that everyone talks about and all that kind of good stuff. That comes from 1933. So when they removed the precious metals from the currency, as far as I can tell from all the research I've done, they replaced that currency with the Social Security system. The Social Security system is the new gold and silver in terms of what backs the negotiable instrument called Federal Reserve notes. As far as I can tell, have I read the entire Social Security Act, and can I point to exact points in an exact thing like I do with a lot of my work that really spells it all out in black and white? No. But I would say, if I had to assume, that's probably what it is. It's the Social Security, and then it's involving the potential future production of the monetization of a person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They've essentially developed it into a derivative now. So I have to look back into this. In fact, Brandon, you were going to be on AlphaCast, and then you You had to.
I know. Was
You
it was
gotta-
it you that I emailed? I woke up
Yeah.
early because I normally don't get up very early. And I was very excited. And I get in the shower and I sit down and I'm like kind of tired. I got like 6 hours of sleep or 5.5 hours of sleep. And I was just like, here we go. And I fire up my email and I look at it and it says March 21st. And I go,
So
okay. I go, and then that's when I emailed you. I was like, or whoever I emailed, I was like, I thought it was this morning. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas. Actually, I think on the 21st.
You're going to be on my podcast
yeah,
that day.
I'm gonna
You're going to be in this room. You're gonna be in
Oh
this room.
shit!
So there you go. I
Alec
see. I just
double
proved it,
booked
Mike.
them.
I just proved it, Mike. See, I told
Human
you. I'd be-
pickle,
Well,
human pickle.
I want to.
You'll literally be sitting in a chair right there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
We'll just Zoom with Winter and Bear, and we'll all four do one
There you
together
go.
or something.
There you go.
We'll figure it out.
Hey, I want to hear from Brad on all this stuff. Brad, how did you kind of wake up during COVID? Because you were just kind of doing your thing as a musician, and then like, what was that? What was that like for you? Because I don't know how deep you're into what we're talking about right now.
No, I'm just listening right now. This is relatively new territory for me, but I wasn't. COVID didn't really wake me up. I was, my story is basically, my oldest child was injured by his early childhood shots, and so he's 12 now. But we had been down the vaccine rabbit hole for a long time in my family, and then COVID comes along, and it wasn't so much that I was waking up or anything. I was just sort of going like, this seems ridiculous. But then as a musician, I was wondering why my heroes weren't speaking up during that time. And, just one song after another started speaking out on what I was seeing happening in the world, which was different for me because I did, sit in the middle of things and just sort of let everybody do their thing. I didn't try to make any political statements for 20 years of my career. So then, I started speaking up, but that's sort of, my, I don't know, coming out of the closet as a conspiracy theorist or whatever. I was getting a little more vocal online with my posts and then started releasing some songs about it. But no, I mean, I had, 20 years of a music career behind me, doing all sorts of stuff, and was actually doing kids music. I was doing a family kids project prior to COVID, and then COVID came around. It kind of shut me off creatively, and was thinking about my family and thought, I got to say something. I have a platform here to say something, and I don't want my kids to, 10 years down the road ask, where was dad? Why didn't he speak up during that time? So, the last, 4 years has been relatively in the medical freedom side of things. And those are the events that I've attended and performed at. And going to Music in Sky actually last year was sort of my first exposure to all this stuff. Is a different side of things, because to me it was okay, we know what's happening, we know that, like we're kind of like all awake, and I'm going to these events where doctors are telling you certain things, and but I'm sitting there sort of wondering to myself, well, what are we going to do about it? And that's how I started 2022 really, or 2023. I was like, what are we doing? Are we just going to sit around and complain, or are we going to figure out a new way forward? And so, one by one, there's Music in Sky, and Acapulco had me out, and Confluence coming up. And so I've enjoyed going here because I'm learning new stuff now, and seeing an even deeper perspective on everything that I was already sort of waking up to. And and the food's great and all these events, by the way. So it's been it's nice to like feel like there's more to discover, when you feel like you've reached a point and you kind of get burnt out on certain perspectives, but then you realize there's another layer to it. It's a continuous like peeling of an onion. You're like, you get deeper and deeper.
Exactly.
But you also see like it gets you excited. It's not like you're sitting around doomsdaying and wondering when the end's going to get here. You're actually, what I love about this community is that it's people thinking about the future that I want for my kids, and the future. What I was saying for a long time was that half the people are going to start going towards the tech the tech side of things. They're gonna keep leaning into AI world, and 5-10 years down the road, everybody's going to be wearing goggles. But the other half of us are going to be taking control of our life again. We're going to be growing our own food and homeschooling our kids and giving them the education that we want. And all that stuff really excites me. So, when I hear what you guys are talking about now, and a lot of what I heard in Acapulco, and what I look forward to hearing at Confluence is all pretty. It's not that it's new. It's just that it's, I guess it kind of is new. It's just a different perspective. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. Okay. What's the next rabbit hole you guys want to go down?
I want to keep asking Brandon questions, but I don't know.
We can do whatever,
Oh,
it's kind of fun to circle around people, right? And hear a bit from everybody as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, we're all loosely interested in law, so we don't have to
loosely. I don't know, loosely. So.
That was kind of dominating.
You're very tightly interested, very tight.
I have a question for Amanda. Amanda, okay. You've got to know these guys over the years. I think you've probably connected with them in person more than I have. You and I are the only Canadians here. How relevant is a lot of the stuff? I don't know how familiar you are with Brandon's stuff, but I'm assuming you know what he's talking about. In fact, I know you do. But some of the stuff that Alex talked about too, how relevant is some of that stuff to us up here?
It's all relevant. Yeah. I mean, there's no countries, right? It's all corporations, and
exactly.
Everything's sort of eventually under the UCC, and so yeah, we're all bonded. And
what about some of the stuff that Brandon talks about in regards to money, though, and the specifics of that? Because he's citing a lot of American law. Have you found much of that up in Canada?
Yeah, we have all similar versions, and you can even use American law to cite because America owns our ass. So I mean,
exactly, right on the US SEC.
Really, the UK owns everything, but
well,
the city
of
London.
I mean, they're rotating it, but yeah, I mean, it's all one big cluster F, right? So, but there's different citations and legal frameworks, of course, but and different agencies that you're interacting with, but it's all similar, and you can cross over. I've done that in documents before. Just saying, look, we're traded on the stock exchange, okay? Like, so we're all one big party here. We just have different angles we're looking at, but it's the same. So yeah, it's interesting, the money stuff. I mean, also they're talking about the 1933 act of basically bankruptcy. I mean, that was really where they went bankrupt, and then that new system came in, and now we're going bankrupt again. So that's the next reset, right? That's why it's really important. This is a changeover of ownership of currency, and we see huge like coins now. We're in the altcoin world, we're in the Bitcoin world, where that's exploding, and I hope people are investing in that now, because they're going to do it. There's even countries that have, Bitcoin as their main currency. It's going to be a thing, whether you like it or not. It's a thing. So we're actually been formulating our own money. It is a gold backed crypto, but that's through Sovereign, and and our own banking system too. And so there's a lot happening behind the scenes that hasn't really been announced. And I know that Mike's working on Portal. I'm sure there are lots of projects, where we're getting all of our alternatives, which will be the new systems set up, our new way of currency exchange, our new way of doing business, our new way of being online and stuff. Because just look at what's happening. They're gonna they're still listing as much control as possible. They want us into 15-minute cities. They want to take away all of our wealth and ownership of anything. And we're not going to do that. Therefore, we have to create our own systems now. And that's why I really like Confluence, because this is the stuff we talk about. You know, how do we do it? How best to do it? How do we build communities? How do we do it best for our local, where we live? Because there's differences to all, like I live in winter. In Texas, there's no winter. Like there's totally different needs for different places, and different ways of like doing animal husbandry or garden growing in different climates, right? As you know, Curtis. So like this is the kind of stuff this is where we need to be at. We need to be discussing solutions, but not just talking about it, actually doing it.
Right.
And that's what has to happen and is happening.
What's dope about Confluence this year, to add to that, Amanda, is that we have 3.5 hours of law education, maybe a little bit more because we're looking to add a few workshops as well. There will be quite a few people there who have tremendous knowledge on the law. We have multiple talks on regenerative agriculture that are relevant to people who are living on land already, but also relevant to people who just have a small backyard. Multiple discussions on personal health, discussions on confluence consciousness and sort of how do I put this? I'd say metaphysical health, I think, is the best way to describe it. We're touching on so many different things that are applicable to people right now. Like they will be able to take what they're being given at Confluence and run with it upon, going back to wherever they live. So that's what I'm like super excited for. We made the intention this year for each speaker to have, at least with two exceptions, there's only two exceptions to this rule. Each speaker has roughly 90 minutes for their speaking slot. So they'll be able to go really, really deep, whether that's they only speak 60 minutes and they do 30 minutes of Q&A, or they go the whole 90 minutes. The intention is that they can go really, really deep on whatever the topic is they're discussing. Right. So I know Brandon's going to go into law, and then Andy Kaufman is also talking on law. So I don't know if you've gotten with Andy, Brandon, but it might be worth it to talk with him and say, hey, let's not have the exact same topics.
No. He was first, and I already in my mind, I think I texted him or we called it. I was already thinking about my mind. I was like, no, he's already got.
Andrew Kaufman there, folks.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm going to go to his, see what he does, and then I may even invite him to kind of join me with mine and just kind of go off the coat. I don't know yet, but there's going to be some more in-depth coordination to make sure that of course
he's the night before you, so that's perfect.
Yeah,
so he can go and then you can go the next day. So
yeah,
it'll work out. But
we got Beth Martins and Mike Wilkerson in the chat on YouTube. They were speakers that a few of us hung out with down at Anarcho Poco. Shout out to them.
Beth, of course,
Nice.
did a phenomenal law online summit with Matt Belair a few years back. That was quite amazing. So Beth knows the law really well. And
I was amazed at how many people down at Anarcho Poco and of course Confluence here know a lot of that stuff. It's really cool to know or to see that coming out. I'm curious. I want to say something to some of you guys, and I'm curious what your take are on this. You've probably, Alec and Mike, you guys probably heard me say this in the past, but I've always struggled with this thing of like, how much stuff do you share publicly versus privately, in the sense that if the New World Order, I'm curious what Brandon says to this, if you're going out online and just saying, hey, this is how you don't pay taxes online, is that, I've always felt that that's kind of sloppy for a couple reasons. One is that the information is so powerful that it might get people into trouble because they don't really know how to manage it, say, just besides a simple procedure that they copied or learned from you. Number two, you could have all these libtards out there just being like, oh my God, these guys are teaching me how to not pay taxes, blah, 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 blah. And also three, you might have some potential deep state agencies bothering you a little bit. Not that there's anything illegal with doing that, just that in the sense that they might be like, hey, don't wake up the sheep too much. And I use this analogy of the scene in the Matrix movie #2, where you've got the big robot standing up to Neo. Neo's coming up. He's got his powers now. He can navigate the Matrix. and the robot says, look, you guys can keep pulling people out of the matrix. That's totally fine. But if you go and wake everybody up too quick, we're going to smash Zion. I'm curious what some of you guys think about that.
Well, you
And
can't
is there some
wake,
sort of
you
truth to
can't,
that?
well, I was just gonna, you can't wake people up. It's a personal journey. You can throw them nuggets and stuff, but really, I mean, and that's definitely in the
But I
law,
mean,
right?
Mike,
But
just throwing direct remedy out without context in a TikTok era where people just take stuff out of context, is there a risk to that? Like,
I
you
mean,
guys kind
that's
of resonate with what I'm saying.
traditionally why you had mystery schools and things were occulted. It's this concept of not throwing pearls to the swine, you know, like because they're not ready for it and like there's like higher precepts and spiritual laws involved with all this.
Well,
And
it's
you know, so yeah, Brandon, Joe, I mean, I'll just say this, like, I think though we're moving into a new realm, a new world where this stuff is all ready to come out now. It's just like
Kind of feel that way too.
all
it's
guns out, like,
it's I think it's a
you
lot
know,
more simple than what everybody thinks. It's very, 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 very simple. It is not some secret thing. You submitted these forms back when you were 16 or 18, and you've continued to submit them to through various employers. None of these forms are required. There is absolutely nothing anywhere that states anything about any of these forms having to be required. They are all actually completely voluntary. Now, once you volunteer, you can unvolunteer just as easily as how you had originally volunteered. So I don't teach it in a way where it's you're magically in this situation and you don't know why you got there, and I'm the magician wizard rogue that has all the answers that you've been looking for, and you can worship me and pay me, and I will give you the secret occult incantation that will open the secret door that is behind the bookshelf, and you can walk through it. It's you open the door to get into this room, and if you would like to open the door back up to leave the room, you may do so. It's literally that simple.
I have a nuanced take that sort of lends credence to both. I'm bothist, quoting Eileen McCusick here. And what I mean by this is when it comes to what Brandon's saying with respect to, let's say, IRS contractual obligations that you have entered into because you have contracted with them, I think Brandon is spot on. Now, where I think there is nuance when we look at something like the fraudulent nature that is mortgages, as an example, right? And remedies associated with mortgages, of which I know there are some, and I know people who have done them. I think that is something that, because of the nature of the banking system and how they sort of prop themselves up based on the fraudulent nature of mortgages and other fraudulent contractual agreements, let's say, for lack of a better term, it's slipping my mind. I think when it comes to things like that, I think it is best served behind the scenes, so to speak. And I'm not necessarily saying that that needs to happen behind a paywall. I just don't think it would be wise to shout those types of things from the mountaintops.
well,
That's
and
that's my take on that.
you can get into a lot, like there's, for instance, there's some of our folks that help with Music in Sky, there are admins, literally just got out of jail. They're kind of a famous case now because they went about the mortgage the wrong way, already had felonies against them because of debt, and tried to do some remedy in court, didn't go about it the right way, and ended up now essentially they're felons. They finally had to plead to get out, because they didn't have all the education. They were miseducated on things, but also they were doing things all with the right intention. So yeah, like you have to know what you're doing when you're going into something like the mortgage remedy. And so in the TikTok, like I see what you're saying, Curtis, like in the TikTok generation where everyone wants now, like I want this to work for me without having to do the work. And in law, there is internal work. Like, I mean, it matters what your remedy is and what you're trying to achieve, right? But there's all sorts of issues that we're trying to remedy here besides just IRS or just commerce or just the money issue too. Like there's straight up tyranny everywhere. And I what I do love about the law is in the end you realize that tyranny is in from the inside out, and we've allowed that tyranny to exist. And the remedy is actually quite simple, as I think Brandon is getting at here.
Right.
But yeah, it's It's fun, man. Like I was just gonna say, at Anarchapulco, this like dominated our discussions between
That's
us.
all we talked about.
All of us
When
hanging out, you, myself, Andrew Kaufman. It was so awesome. It was so awesome.
Dave Weiss just continually saying, "Where's your evidence for that? Where's your evidence for that?"
Dave
to,
Weiss was a
like
fucking
poke
gem. I
fun
love
at
that
Andy.
guy.
Dude, what was
Dave was just like, "Can we go in the water and swim again?" I'm like, "Let's
I
go,
know,
man.
I
Let's hit
know.
the
That's
ocean."
funny. Ian Smith sitting there like, "Holy shit!" Not really saying.
And he was
anything
getting a
yet.
machine gun assault of red pills. Like he was just taking the fire hose, right?
Right.
That was awesome.
Another thing that I'll add to that, I think it is also wise to be sure when you're communicating these deeper remedies, let's say, to people to add to what Winter said, is that you want someone who is of sound mind, body, spirit. And because I know of people who have learned some of these remedies, let's say, and are of a vengeful mindset where they're going to use said knowledge in a sort of weaponized fashion to, quote, take down the government, right? And I don't think that, does us any justice. And I think that actually makes us look ridiculous. So you don't want people who are coming in a perpetual state of fear, and you also don't want people who are coming in a perpetual state of rage and are vengeful. You want people who are wanting to learn this information to live in honor. Recognizing that, and this pains me to say in some respect as a self-professed voluntarist, the state is there and is great for people who still want to behave as children and don't want to manage their own affairs and take 100% ownership and responsibility over their own shit and not project their shit onto other people. The state is great for those people. And there are many people who are still behaving as children, and the government is good in that respect, in that they will manage those people who want to behave like children.
Yeah, and just one thing real quick on the mortgage end of things. One of the things that I've been saying a lot of recently that's very shocking is there's only one organization that I've ever had the pleasure to deal with that actually follows the law really well. Can you guess which organization that is?
Let me think.
Banks.
It's the Internal Revenue Service. The banks do not follow the law at all.
They
At
make the law their own
all.
law.
They're dirty.
They that's why I love litigation. They know they're thousands of miles away from anything that could even be possibly even close to law, and that everything they do is the biggest pile of that anyone's ever seen. And to win against a bank, oh my God. And they don't care. They just make up money out of thin air. $20 million. Yeah, sure, whatever. Here, poof, here you go. They don't care. So the thing is, you can get rich suing banks. I mean, that's in my opinion, you couldn't get rich faster. There's no faster get rich scheme on the entire planet. Suing banks. I mean, you'll have 150. I mean, I probably have by the end of the year $180 million in my bank account. But the thing is that it's a situation where you said, the mortgage and the remedies. If the banks actually did what the law says they're supposed to do, we would already have a pretty interesting situation, because there's already so many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people doing this from my work. I think my work is probably some of the most influential work when it comes to financials and negotiable instruments. So you would see madness, maybe, possibly, I don't know, maybe not. There's a lot of madness and a lot of crazy things and illegal things that people do to try to make these securities called Federal Reserve notes in order to pay, which is a joke, on a mortgage, which never existed. So the thing is, you have to say, what is madness? Madness is a single mother who has two children that will do literally anything to make sure that her children have a house to grow up in. And that anything can become very dark very rapidly. People will lose their own sense of morality given a financial situation where something is happening that they feel that they are willing to do anything in order to financially solve it. So at the same time, you say to yourself, the madness or the craziness associated with the remedies associated with mortgages, but I think that there may be some additional types of madness that we've never seen before if the banks actually follow the rules. But what you're also going to see is you're going to see a massive drop off of the insanity and morality destroying behaviors that are associated with the pressures as rents climb and as economies break. And I think that the amount of craziness and madness that we are currently experiencing, given a situation that is extremely fraudulent, and it is a fake illusion that people are trying to solve their way out of with all of this complicated working and collecting of Federal Reserve notes, that could be averted. So you say to yourself, okay, so if the banks actually did what they're supposed to do and the banks actually follow the law, we would be getting all these mortgages discharged by the hundreds of thousands right now. And then what would happen is there'd be so much of it going on that then people would start to catch on, and then it would be an explosion and a forest fire, and then it would rip through the whole country in like 10 seconds, and then that'd be the end of all mortgages. Uh, they're not doing that. They are fighting tooth and nail. They are not following the law by any means whatsoever. They are fighting and sandbagging and doing everything they possibly can to prevent that sort of thing from occurring. But I don't know what percentage of it is actually full-blown ignorance. I don't believe that they all know what this is. I don't believe that a lot of the bankers, I've talked to bankers personally on the phone with 29 years of experience, even they only know part of this information. Uh, I don't think that it's this completely knowing, completely aware, completely inspective, totally in the driver's seat situation. I think there's a tremendous amount of ignorance combined with a small amount of intent. And I think that the future is that as we win some of these litigation cases, we are going to force the banks to follow the laws. We are going to blow this thing wide open. And then, yes, there is going to be an overnight explosive destruction of the entire mortgage industry, which may appear to be madness at that time. But I believe that what we're actually looking at is all of the hidden madness that people are experiencing all around the world. Hidden madness of not being able to pay their bills, the hidden madness of eviction, the hidden madness of a mother who's just struggling to pay for her children, to pay for her children's schooling, losing her mind,
Rent
sacrificing
slavery.
herself. Yeah. So I don't think that there is any risk in any of this. I think that there's a greater risk for us to not do it, to not communicate it. And our responsibility is to make sure that people do understand that when they're doing these things, what's going through their mind, what is their mindset, why are they doing it? And just to make sure that we try our best to make sure that people understand these things and not hand them a remedy without them understanding the remedy and understanding how to wield the remedy in the best way possible to the best of our ability as teachers of this information.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be a bellwether event for a massive change that needs to happen if this was just to take off like a firestorm of discharging mortgages and really cleaning up the banking industry and getting back to how it's supposed to be. Where, I am a fan of credit. Like, I think if you don't do credit the right way, credit allows for growth. Credit allows for people to put forth their creative force. And as long as it's done correctly, in nature inherently credits things. Like, credit is used in nature, like otherwise you have the robber barons that still have all the capital that are just going to control things. So you could get back to a credit, proper way to fund ability to buy property and things like that without the illegal, immoral mortgage. 5 times August. Brad, do you understand what we're talking about here? Because I think Brad might be a great person to reflect on this, because I think a lot of the audience might not understand. Like, when we say discharge a mortgage, have you ever heard that before?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think this is really good gravy, I think, for a lot of people who
101.
Yeah, like if Brandon or Curtis or somebody would love to give just a 101 on that, because this is mind-blowing when you get into mortgage fraud. Like, it's just it just shows how like insane the world is.
Yeah, like you can summarize it by you sign a document which gives them permission to steal money that you already have in your bond and lend it back to you at exorbitant rates. So, and then you pay basically like twice for it. So, and you're liable for it too, ultimately.
Then don't they take that same thing and then trade it on some market and it goes and flips multiple, maybe
Then there's
dozens
fractional
of times?
reserve on top of it all. And oh yeah, I mean, it's
Biggest Ponzi scheme.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a little bit from all my research, there's a little bit different way that it's done. So the way that from everything I've researched, the way it works is so you have a promissory note, which is the original promise to pay. A promissory note is an unconditional promise to pay. Okay. And when you sign that promissory note just normally with your name, it's actually called a blank endorsement. Okay. So basically what you're doing is that promissory note, a Federal Reserve note is also a promissory note. So when you sign the promissory note and you promise to pay the mortgage, that actual physical document that you sign, once it's actually signed, what you're doing is you don't realize it, but when you sign it the way that you sign it, which is just normal, what you're doing is you're releasing that now created security with no attached conditions. What the bank does is they put a different type of endorsement on it called a special endorsement, where they actually claim the unclaimed security. It has certain terminology on it. Then through what's called an OC10 agreement with the Federal Reserve, they get what's called Federal Reserve Discount Window Access. And there's a whole website where you can type in any bank and it'll come up and it'll show you what banks have window access, when did they get window access. There's 3 different tiers of window service that they can get, and it shows which tier they have, and there's all this information, right? What they do is they go to this window at the Federal Reserve and they write what's called an application for notes. And this original promissory note that you created, that you gave to them without conditions, that note is called a collateral security. And the Federal Reserve swaps that collateral security for Federal Reserve notes. And then what the bank does is then they turn around and they give you those swapped Federal Reserve notes, and that's how they fund the loan, right? And then from there, if the Federal Reserve wants to take that collateral security and do something with it, I don't really know exactly how all that works. I haven't really gone into that too much because there's all these different rules when you sign an OC10 agreement where the bank holds on to the collateral security, and there's the OC10 agreement, almost the whole thing. You can go online and type in OC-10 and you can read the whole agreement. Almost the whole thing has to do with what they're going to do, how they're going to hold, how they're going to store and exchange, and what they can and can't do with the collateral securities. It's almost the entire OC10 agreement. So when you understand how all this works, you can write a special endorsement and you can actually claim the original promissory note right from the beginning. And they're not going to do it, and they're going to refuse to do it, or sometimes they do it. It's kind of hit or miss, and you have to litigate because they don't want to play by the rules, and you'll always win. But if you claim the original security through by doing the same kind of endorsement the bank's going to do after you release it without condition, then the bank only has one option. They go to the Federal Reserve window and they swap that promissory note collateral security for Federal Reserve notes, and then they have nowhere else they can put them except right back on your account, which zeroes out the account instantaneously. And on my platform, it's called, I call it infinite money because I play a lot of video games, and it just kind of like made sense to me. It's basically the infinite money, my infinite money teachings that I teach a lot about. I teach a lot about endorsements. I teach a lot about what is a negotiable instrument, how are they manufactured, what types are there's only 2 types, what are they and how are they built. It's very, very simple, actually. A negotiable instrument is just some kind of document or contract that has face value that can be transferred to person to person to person, and they can hold the power of that value. A check that has someone's name on it is non-negotiable because if I hand it to you, you can't deposit it. But if I have a check, if I pull out my checkbook right now and under where it says pay to the order of, if I write bearer or payable to the bearer, it's now a negotiable instrument because absolutely anyone who possesses that check can actually cash that check. And you can actually literally write checks that way. You can write a $5 check, make it payable to the bearer, and then you sign it with a blank endorsement, which is your normal way that you sign everything that you do. And you've literally legally just created cash, because that is now a $5 bill and you're the backer of that $5 bill. And that $5 bill can go through the society through thousands and thousands of people. And as long as people believe that they can deposit this thing and they believe that you have $5 in this account somewhere and they know who you are, you have literally created your own currency or funds legally, which is entirely legal.
And
So,
Brandon, can you talk about bills of exchange? So is that then it a little bit more in that context?
Hold on 1 second, Amanda, though, because
Yes,
he
right.
still has to get to like the moment of discharging the
Yeah.
mortgage.
I just didn't want to forget.
so negotiable means transferable. Very simple, right? So Federal Reserve notes are payable to the bearer. So it's like you taking a check and writing payable to the bearer and then signing it and putting $5 on it, right? So there's two types of negotiable instruments. There's promissory note and there's a bill or bill of exchange. Bill means bill of exchange. So a promissory note is an unconditional promise to pay, and a bill of exchange is an unconditional order to pay. So what are these things in their most basic essence? They're evidence of a debt. Ordering to pay someone, or ordering someone to pay an amount, and them not fighting against that amount in law means that they owe that amount. Promising to pay an amount is evidence that there's a debt because it hasn't been paid yet. It's going to be paid in the future. So discharging is basically where you can take all the original promissory notes. For example, every time you put your credit card in a credit card reader, it prints out a receipt and you have to sign it. What are you signing? You're signing that you promise to pay as per the card member agreement. You go into the card member agreement, there's a promise to pay section. So you are actually, every single time you use a credit card, you are producing a negotiable instrument called a promissory note, and you are actually manufacturing currency or funds. It's not money, because money by definition is gold and silver coins. It's actually called currency or funds. That's the technical way that you would say these various things, right? So, or negotiable instruments or promissory notes. So a bill of exchange, you can do all the same thing for. You can actually convert a bill of exchange into cash. You can actually take, which is crazy, it's totally nuts, but you can actually take your utility bill, you can write an endorsement on it. Let's say it's for $86. They're ordering you to pay $86. You can actually endorse it in a certain way, and it becomes a payable to the bearer $86 check. And you can actually use it to pay things with.
So how are you able to do that actively, Brandon?
Yes, I've discharged $177,000 in credit card debt. We're working on a bunch of properties, and then we've done probably 40 or 50 or 60 cars.
Have you been able to successfully do a full mortgage on a property?
We are working on one now. I've kind of changed the way that I do all this. Now what we're doing is we're doing mainline litigation. So not only are they going to discharge the mortgage, but they're also going to refund every single Federal Reserve note that was ever extraneously paid on the account since the account's inception. And then we're also going to walk away with $10 to $50 million in damages on top of that. So this might take a while, but I'm very, very excited because after I win a couple of these, it's going to really rip things open. So we're not trying to discharge debt anymore. Discharging debt is not going to change the system. What we're doing is we are discharging the debt plus getting a full refund of every single payment made on the account, plus massive damages, collecting damages. And I feel like that's a real win. That's a real win that's going to change the future of the country and of banking. And I don't actually necessarily even have a problem with the banking system. The banking system is a system where when you promise to pay, that promise to pay is cash and it discharges the account. You promise to pay for a $500 million mansion. As soon as you sign the promise to pay, they hand you the keys and you get a $500 mansion, and that's the end of the story. And there's never any payments on it. That's the actual system that we live in. Now, I don't have a problem with that system, to be honest with you. We can continue to operate under that system forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Can I just ask, just for people listening that are having their minds blown by that right now, like in terms of just like, in terms of the quantitative aspect of like, how does that work? Where does the actual, like, in terms of like hard goods costs and everything, and like, this is like physical things we're talking about here. people are probably wondering, like, where does the money then come from? Like, how does, and you know, like you're talking about literally money out of air here. I know this is hard to for people to wrap their minds around, like how this whole system is built around, and it really has to come down to credit, right? And the fact that we're all the creditors based on how the system's set up to begin with when we're born.
Brandon, can I say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, just so maybe I can explain it as best I can in layman's terms.
Yeah.
A signature signed a certain way is then presented to the Federal Reserve by the bank, and then the Federal Reserve then issues the credit in the exact amount that the bank requests. So it is literally created at that moment that the signature is put on that paper. The Federal Reserve pulls the credit. Now, the question that I brought up earlier with respect to where the credit is pulled from, that's why I was kind of getting at, is that there's different theories on where the credit is pulled from, whether it's that they're actually creating it there in that moment, or if they're pulling the credit from an account that exists that has accrued a certain amount of credit via being traded, that either represents the Social Security number or the birth certificate.
Yeah, I guess the number one thing that you have to clear up to understand all this is, what is the definition of the word credit? The definition of the word credit is basically the allowance to defer a payment. The definition of payment means to perform on an obligation or contract. So if you were to reword the definition of credit to remove the word payment and replace it with the definition of the word payment, which I think actually clears it up better, you'd have the extending the right to defer performance on a contract or obligation. That would be the actual technical definition of the word credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyone can allow anyone, and if you look at the 1933 Emergency Banking Act, everyone has an infinite ability to be permitted to defer performing on a contract or obligation. And the reason why is because the government has prevented us entirely within the confines of the incorporated element of the government. We don't have the ability any longer since 1933 to actually perform using lawful money, because gold and silver coins are not considered lawful money. We are now using a legal tender system, which is based off of extending the ability to defer performance of an obligation or contract into some point in the future. Essentially, everything in this planet and everything that we are dealing with is just deferring performance into some unknown future time that probably will never come. That's essentially what it is that we're dealing with. So the
I think
ability
that's
to
the slippery slope, though, that'll never come. I feel like the rooster will come home to roost.
Yeah. So the thing is that the only way to perform on an obligation or contract in today's world, in my opinion, is to endorse properly. Because if you endorse a bill of exchange or promissory note in a way that states a payee, or for example, if you include terminology that makes it into a restrictive endorsement, such as the term without recourse, you'll see that on all the special endorsements that the banks stamp on the promissory notes before they swap the notes at the window. When you write without recourse on an instrument, what that is it's basically stating that if you take this document, if you take this negotiable instrument and you process it or do anything with it, I'm not responsible for anything that happens with it. You're literally negating all of responsibility at all whatsoever on it. So let's say, for example, you go in and you want to get a brand new Lexus. You can actually sign with a blank endorsement, which is just the normal way that you sign everything. And you can write above it without recourse. And if they accept it, they don't have the option to reject it, but they will reject it, and they'll tell you they're going to reject it, even though they can't actually legally do that. And you litigate, and you force them to take it. They have to take it. They don't have a choice. But there's a lot of times too where no one knows any of this information. If they accept a without recourse endorsement on your documentation and they hand you the keys to the car, you no longer have absolutely any responsibility for non-payment on that account forever. You never, ever need to make a single payment on the account. Now, there's additional ways that you can do endorsements. For example, a blank endorsement does not state a payee. It does not state where these funds are going to go to once that collateral security is swapped or there's a contract to have it swapped with the Federal Reserve. You can write things, let's say you're going to sign the documentation, you can write without recourse. And then below that, you can put pay to the order of, which is the same terminology you see on your checkbook, where you write the payee, right? And then below that, you're going to put by colon B, or no, I'm sorry, pay to the order of, you're going to put your name in all capital letters below that. And then below that, you're going to put BY by colon, and then you're going to sign there where you would normally sign. And when you do it that way, what you're doing is you're saying without recourse. So I'm not responsible for any non-payment on this account forever on the account. Then you're saying, the payee of this, any swaps or anything that happens with this particular negotiable instrument, the proceeds of that negotiable instrument can only go to my name in all capital letters, which is what the account holder is, the name in all capital letters. So when they do that swap, if they don't bring that money back from the Federal Reserve window, not money, but currency or funds, and they don't place that currency or funds straight back onto the account to zero out the account, then there are several 20 to 25 year in prison felonies, such as securities fraud, securities transferring, security trafficking, illegally purloining securities. There's several of them, of which we use for all of our litigation, that you can hit them with really, really, really hard. Really hard. I mean, we're trying to learn now how to force indictments to get the DOJ involved to actually prosecute these people to the fullest extent of the law, which we're talking like each individual transaction on a credit account. Let's say you have a credit card and you transact like 80 transactions a month. It would be 20 to 25 years in prison for every single individual transaction since the account's inception.
Andrew Kaufman's in the house, folks. Just shout out to him.
Dr. Kaufman.
That's so hey, I want to know real quick on this whole thing. Amanda, do you remember the Robert Menard days in law in Canada? Remember the 96 is your fix thing? That's essentially what it was, is to re-endorse the bill to pay out, right? So your utility bill comes in and you can re-sign it in a different way, similar to what Brandon was saying, and we could actually get paid from that. But they changed it. I wonder, Brandon, do you know much about that? How if a bunch of people get hip to something, do they go and try to change it?
Not at this level, no. This level that we're referring to is like the entire spinal cord of everything. I mean, if they change any of this, they might as well just push the red button and blow the whole goddamn thing up A to Z, because it's pretty much going to be the same. It's too intrinsic.
They rely on.
So we're operating off of like the 10 Commandments here. I mean, there is no, if they made adjustments at this level, it would cause so much chaos. They literally would be. They might as well just hit the red button and blow the whole thing out. I mean, literally, it's probably going to be. There's no way. No, this is too. I plan on making an OC10 agreement. I'm gonna open up access with the Federal Reserve window. I'm going to process applications for notes. I'm doing it all. I'm doing everything. I'm getting involved. I'm jumping in.
Brandon's a kamikaze. I think he should have been the barbarian, actually, when I think about the Dungeons and Dragons characters. I think Brandon's the barbarian. He's just running in berserker mode. So Brandon, is it all about for you just straight commercial? You're straight in the box, you're straight commercial law. You're not using equity as a guide or sort of implied trusts or anything like that. You're just going straight into commercial law.
I have private trusts. I do all sorts of trust related activities. I enjoy trust law. It's the original law. It's true law.
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. The amount of spiritual philosophy associated with trust law is something that I could talk about forever. It's beautiful. It's glorious. I actually believe that corporate law is a bastardization of trust law.
It's the devil's game.
It's the devil's conversion. Yeah, it's literally the devil's conversion. But no, I love it all. I love everything. The situation is that why use a lot of these various types of laws? See, what's happening is that you have the bully. Okay. The bully's coming in and he's beating you up and taking your lunch money every day. Okay. Now you say to the bully, you know, you can't do this anymore. You can't do this anymore. That's it. Go away. Right. And the bully realizes that you learned some jujitsu and he doesn't want to mess with you anymore because you're not an easy target. And then he just kind of goes away. Right. Now, the next level above that is you beat him up, you take his pants and his shirt and his lunch money, and then now he's really rethinking his life, right? Now, when
The
you
bully
go,
just wants a victim, right? They don't want to fight; they want a victim.
so when you involve yourself in the commercial side of things rather than going down all these other avenues, what happens is that now every time you get sued, you're filing a counterclaim immediately, and anytime you don't get sued, you're suing them as the plaintiff. And I feel like that's a lot more exciting. I mean, if you add up just the first 4 cases I've got rolling so far, it's probably $400 million worth of demands for relief. I mean, this isn't chump change. This is one of the, you want to talk about, like I said, get rich quick. I don't care. You could be the greatest researcher and the greatest inventor in the world. You could be world-renowned drug trafficker. You could do, it doesn't matter. Like there's no greater get rich quick scheme than litigation. It just doesn't get any better than this. I mean, my American Express case, which is going to be up and running any second now, it's $250 million case. I mean, okay. Well, I don't have any intent to settle below that just because I think it's hilarious. But let's say I settle for $100 million. I mean, it might take me 6 months to run the case. 100 million in 6 months ain't too shabby. Work from home, teleconferences, to get started is a $405 federal lawsuit fee. So it's a $405 buy-in for the gamblers out there. The odds of $405 turning into $100 to $250 million is pretty nice. I'm not a gambler, but if I was, I'd be here.
Brandon, here's a question for you. Okay, so I'm with you. I'm excited about it all. But when you get, because I don't know if you had any really big payout yet, like what you're discussing there, but when you do, are you going to buy a sweet car or something right away? What's going to be the first thing you do with that money?
I'm going to spend it all on advertising.
Well, so here's the thing, though. Don't you does part of you sit there and go, okay, well, if you do cash out on one of these yet, because I don't know if you have yet, and you can talk about it in such an open way that there's a risk that a lot of retards are going to try to do, as you say, get rich quick. And what if that overwhelms the judiciary system in some way, and then people get pissed off? Do you have enough faith in law? Because I'm kind of with this as well, that if you understand law enough, there's not something they can pull on you, because they're going to be in so much default that they can't do it. Or do you fear the deep state just suddenly saying, well, this guy, maybe he needs to be neutralized?
That's what I know Bear would say too, because he knows people that were doing this sort of stuff and they straight up were just gone, just taken out. So
no, I think
I know a guy who was doing this and was followed by CSIS for years, and he sent them a notice and said that he'd go private, and they said okay, but he was followed. He had a white van follow. I'm not putting this out there to propagate fear. I hope none of it's true, but I'm just putting it out there because we've seen stuff like this in Canada over the years. Like this guy, Robert Menard, he found a way to re-endorse these notes, as I was saying, and they were writing bills and getting money. And all of a sudden it stopped working because who knows? I don't know. But
well, accepted for value worked for a while too. I had 2 successful accepted for value situations. But then that procedure stopped working. So like the problem is we're dealing with a lot of corruption.
The thing is that nothing stops working. They just stop following the law.
Yeah.
And through litigation, you can get any of those things that, quote, stopped working to work just fine. It all works just fine. So that's the thing. People don't understand. They think that they send in some documents, some magic documents, and things either work or they don't. That's not how it is at all. There's law. Well, it's, statute, but, statutes. And they're either following the statutes or they're not. The Bill of Exchange Act comes from 1882. This is not anything new. They are not changing anything. They have not changed anything. The only thing that has changed is throughout the years, especially in 1971, they finally fully removed, all gold and silver backed anything from these negotiable instruments. So then it was a lot easier to just kind of whatever, and just that opened the door for the whole credit system. And now every time somebody uses a credit card, technically they're inflating the money supply. Every single time you use a credit card, you're inflating the money supply. So now we're in a situation where it's the globalist wet dream, where we are the ones who are destroying the money supply. They are not destroying it. They have undermined the situation to where every single time you use your credit card, you are the one who is destroying the money supply, which is their wet dream. They want us to be responsible for everything that they're doing, and it's all very occultish. It's all very secret. It's all getting us to volunteer in a taxation is getting us to say the incantation. Once we say the incantation, we are now located in the District of Columbia, which is where United States is located according to UCC 9-307, subsection H. So it's just kind of one of those things where they want us to say the incantation. They want us to destroy the money supply. So they set everything up to where we are all unknowingly the ones in the driver's seat doing all of these things. And I have no bone to pick. I have no issue with the Federal Reserve System. Like I said, I will be filing an OC-10 myself. I will be getting window access. I have many banking relationships. I have no issue with the banking system at all whatsoever. I have no complaints. I do not recommend that people freak out. I do believe that as people learn more and more about how this system works, your average American will not be happy with it, and they will want to convert the system over to a gold and silver coin based, very simple system. I think at some point in time in the future, there will be a splitting where there'll be people using the gold and silver coin system, and they will be extracting themselves entirely. And then I think there will still be the negotiable instrument system. If that happens, I will be operating in both systems. I have no problem with the system. I have no bone to pick with the system. My only bone to pick is that I get irritated when banks do not follow the statutes. You speak the statutes, you write the statutes, you help write the statutes, and then you don't follow them, and that's unacceptable. And the courts, all they want is they want people to follow the statutes. That is their entire job. They are responsible for making sure that the system operates the way that it currently does. And we are able to walk down the street without getting robbed or shot or murdered. And we do not live in a nightmare yet. This country does work pretty well overall. So the thing is that I just don't, people bring that up all the time. Are you going to get killed? You're going to do this? I don't think so, because I don't have any upset. I don't have any difficulty. And in fact, I would love to create an OC-10 agreement. I'm actually planning on going to, you can't call the Federal Reserve. They won't pick up the goddamn phone. So one of these days I'm going to go down there. I'm just going to put my suit on, go down there. There's a Los Angeles branch from the San Francisco sector district. And I'm just going to walk in there and be like, hey, I'm looking to make an OC-10 agreement. Is there someone I can talk to, representative or whatnot? Yeah, I don't have an issue with any of this. The only issue I have
I have an issue with the central banking cartel. I mean, why do we need them? Why can't the governments just print their own money, so they're not borrowing money from yet another party? Like, just take that middleman out and just print your own currency and run your own economy rather than the central cartel. And also, that I have a problem with.
And also, I have a problem with the infinite growth model that it's all built around. Like, it can just print money forever, and it's not based on natural design. Like, we live in a finite place. I do believe in prosperity and our ability to co-create in whatever we want forever, but we have a finite world we live on, and we're seeing the damage being done by this infinite growth concept of where, this sort of what some would call quantum money or whatever is done. And I see what you're saying, Brandon, though. Like, that system needs to go, because the power of a gold-backed system is based on actual, real, fundamental physicality of something, right? That has a specific set limit to it. I like with Cordal, what we're doing is we're creating a currency based around time, that everyone has just a set amount of time in life. And that that's a common thing that everyone has to deal with. We're only here for a certain amount of time, unless secrets I don't know. Maybe there are ascended
No, no,
masters.
Yeah, like you can bring the ownership of the property back to the government. I know that
Yeah.
the central governments have stolen the worth, right? But you collapse them and you bring the resources back to the government. And then, yeah, you have an asset there. And then you can go back to gold standard or use silver or use something like that if you want. But like, I think that could be stable and then we could still do loans and whatever. I mean, my feeling from just a druid, I guess, as Curtis as that I am, is that like if you go out into nature and you look at just one tree, how many seeds does one tree produce? Like, look at the abundance that nature provides. And I think that we don't need a debt-based system at all. I think we need a positive net system where we see what's produced. First, the harvest comes in, and then it gets doled out. So then there's nothing underneath. There's nothing in the negative. You're working with what you have. You don't work with what you don't have. And I know it's like a big switch around, but I mean, I think the negative debt system working on I promise you later is insane. Like, look at the abundance.
Again,
Totally
like the way that I've totally reframed this, if I may jump in on that, is that the fact that by our signature, they are then going to the Federal Reserve, who then issues, for lack of a better term, Brandon, so don't correct me, the credit, is that the credit is created by us or is coming from an account that is our account. And again, there's different ideas on where it ultimately stems from. But the point being that this has been a huge shift for me on a metaphysical level, in that even the system, so to speak, recognizes that we are the source of abundance, that they require in a sort of parasitic fashion, with the traditional definition of what a parasite is, not the terrain-based one, that they literally need to leech off of our creational energy in order to create this system and get it to run properly.
But we're still not the adult. We're still the beneficiary. We're still the kids that are just want our candy.
Before no, time out. But that's
the problem is not the system. The problem is information available so that people can understand the way the system works. That's the real issue. I don't have a problem with the system. I have a problem with the fact that people don't understand the system and they're saying things and doing things that they don't understand. And think about this. I always tell people the same thing, right? Sovereignty, right? What is sovereignty? Sovereignty is not running around and destroying systems that you feel are enslaving and creating victims out of others. It is informing, in my opinion, it is informing others in the information, the true information, so that they have all the information they need to make the best decision for themselves, their family, their friends, and their situation. Now, there are a lot of martyrs. I was going to write a whole book. I've got 33% of a whole book on martyrdom and escapism. The thing is that there are people who want to kill themselves. There is a goth behavioral pattern of self-loathing. There is all these different things. People have the choice, as long as they are not harming others, to be involved in all the self-loathing and all the wrist slashing and everything that they want to be involved in, as long as that behavior is not destroying the lives of the people around them. So the thing is that it still ultimately comes down to a choice. And it's the same thing in the system. The way the system behaves and the way the system assumes is you're here through voluntary compliance. You have become a slave or a volunteer employee of the federal corporation because you chose to be here. The issue, I don't have an issue with the fact that people can, if they so please, volunteer into any sort of sadism. My problem is the fact that people don't know how they got there. That's the issue.
Yeah, but then you don't have disclosure. Like, it's the same thing with vaccines, right? You go to the doctor, they're like, this is good for you. Trust us. This is awesome. Here's how it works. Oh, we're going to put you in jail if you don't, or you can't send your kid to school or whatever. It's the same thing, right? They're not giving disclosure. So they're obfuscating the information that would say, yeah, oh, I didn't know I was a slave. Oh shit. Okay, I'm a slave. Oh, you mean like, oh, I have these rights? Oh, wait. Oh, like this, I can do this procedure and not pay for the nose for my house. Oh, I don't have to work anymore. Oh, cool. Like, but they hide that. So it's not like it's fair game per se. It's like, oh, we made you stupid. We put the fluoride in the water. We give you the shots. We make you dumb and dull and broke. And then, but you better figure it out. Oh, well, like, it's kind of, there's no justice in it.
They don't completely obfuscate. They only partially obfuscate. And that's what, so every single shot has its terms and conditions. Every single contract has its terms and conditions. The problem is that, let's say, for example, you're given a mortgage and it's 38 pages of legal jargon. When they slide that across the table, the correct behavior in that situation is, thank you very much, I'm going to read all this and understand what this is before I sign it. The incorrect behavior is to just sign because you feel you have to, because if you don't sign, then you're not getting a house. That's the real issue. I feel like a lot of the disclosure. Now I'm suing for the part they don't disclose, which is the endorsements. But besides endorsements, most of everything is going to be disclosed to some degree or another in the documentation. Now, what they do is they make the documentation excessively difficult through legalese, and they make it excessively long. And then the way that they do is they behave as though you had a voluntary situation where you could have not signed said document, which is true. So the thing is that it does work both ways. And I feel like when it comes to the idea of empowerment and true sovereignty, the true empowerment is not the fact that you've been victimized by complex legal jargon. The true empowerment is the fact that you should be reading these documents. You should be looking up all of the definitions of all of these words in the document. And then once you've understood the document to the best of your ability, which could take 4 months, then you make an educated decision whether or not you're going to sign the said document. And then you realize that signature actually means an endorsement. And then you even choose what kind of endorsement you want. That's true empowerment. You don't need to sign a fucking thing. You can go through your whole life never signing a single piece of paper and you'll be just fine.
I only meant to bring up that we are the source of the credit for the basis for the entire system to bring people into understanding that they recognize that we are the source of abundance. So we need to understand that we are inherently abundant. That was the whole point in me bringing that up. That the system literally relies on us creating the credit.
Everything that you sign defers performance on a contract or obligation. I mean, you can defer everything. You can defer everything you want. You can buy 100 mansions and defer all of it. All you need to do is just learn endorsements, and then when the bank plays stupid or misbehaves, you sue them and you force them to follow the law. It's very simple. And the thing is that to me, that's empowering. What's empowering is knowing how the game. It's like everyone is playing Monopoly and no one knows the rules to the game. That's the issue, in my opinion.
If we lived in a sane world, though, we wouldn't need this. If we lived in a truly compassionate adult world,
right,
where people
agreed,
you wouldn't have these games being played. And I think that's what's hard for people to wrap their heads around. And that's why there's why pop Gnosticism is so popular right now, this idea that we live in a fallen realm where there's a demiurge in control, because it seems that way a lot, right? And I think I'm in agreement, though, for the most part, Brandon, in that we've through slavery through 1,000 cuts of ignorance slowly over hundreds of years have given away.
Exactly.
Like, it makes me think of this funny clips of have you ever seen the DUI clips where people are complaining in the early 80s about how they were going to stop drinking and driving?
Yeah.
And
we're going to wake up in a communism. This shit continues. That's so good.
That's how far we've gone. People were pissed that they were stopping drinking and driving. And it makes sense, obviously, you shouldn't drink and drive, but it just shows how far we've come, just in 20 years, 30 years in the United States, from how crazy independent we were. So that being said, yeah, it's just, I think it's the more we can do the internal work and grow up, the more then that world will change, and our kids can grow up in a world where they don't have to play the game so much. But I will say this: when you look around in the public, you see mostly grown-up children. everywhere around you.
I think the only way out of this game that we're all stuck in the middle of and playing is to learn the game. I don't think there is some the way through this is the way out, and we've spent hundreds of years being ignorant and hundreds of years signing things that we don't read. I believe that the situation that we're currently in is sort of a the consequence of that behavior, and I don't think there is some overnight burn it down, throw the game out. It's so entrenched, it's so everywhere that the only way to truly conquer the game is to play the game and to learn the rules so well that we're playing it better than everybody else, including the judges and the police are playing it, which I am living proof that after many thousands of hours and, you know, $140,000 invested in research and testing, that it can be done. And the whole thing is now, how do we duplicate that? That's my whole platform.
Hey guys, this is sweet, and we're so thick into it. I wonder if might be now a time to shift the conversation to maybe something a little more esoteric. However, if we're going so deep into the matrix here that I think it's we're getting in some serious minutia, and it'd be kind of fun. I was talking to Mike Winter about this when we were at Acapulco, about the Beatles and Paul McCartney not being Paul McCartney. And I'm curious what Brad thinks about that. Have you gone down the rabbit hole of esotericism in music? And
This
Beatles
is the book right here, by the way.
Here we go, Brad. I want your take on that, Brad.
Yeah, so the Beatles, particularly Paul McCartney, is like, he was like my guy growing up. So I've been down all the rabbit holes and everything, and actually had a really interesting conversation in Acapulco about record producers doing demonic prayer over master recordings before an album's released and things like that. I've gone down a lot of the Beatles rabbit holes, and actually, my kids have been asking a lot of questions. And one day I mentioned how, like, yeah, you know, there's this whole thing about Paul McCartney being dead back in the 60s, and they replaced him. And so my son got really into that whole world. I don't think Paul McCartney's not Paul McCartney. Although in recent years, maybe him posting something like, you know, for me, the big letdown, the big killer was watching all the musicians over COVID, you know, give in to the man, McCartney being one of them, saying, you know, be cool, get vaxxed, which, you know, to me is like, what are you doing? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you want to? I'm unloading, by the way, I'm unloading everything that Brandon just said. I sat through that, and there was so much information.
I know, and I just wanted to bring you in because I'm feeling bad because we're going so deep.
No, no, I appreciate that you pivoted to something that like the Beatles. But I was like thinking of all this stuff, right? And I don't mean to pivot back around to it, because my brain is so flustered right now, by the way, from everything that we just experienced together here.
Oh, you and there are probably 300 plus people in the chat right now. Smash the like, folks. The stream's popping off.
But what I do want to say about everything that Brandon was just talking about was, like, as somebody on the outskirts of everything he just said, like that's the thing is, you know, you have to remember, like, you guys, even more than me, are so deep down a specific rabbit hole. And I say this a lot, but most people are not even near the circumference of the rabbit hole. They're 1,000 miles that way. And so how do you begin to educate them? So when you talk about communicating this information to them, and to me, just, you know, how much to put out there, right? I think that you just put it out there because it's still just the internet. Some people will find it, some people won't. Some people will immediately gravitate towards it. Some might need to see it a few times before they actually start to dig a little bit deeper. But you know, my question was going to be, is all this information that Brandon has been talking about, is it laid out in a 101 lesson all the way through everything. And then the other question, or the other thing that I was thinking about, was also the net positive concept of seeds, right? And you know, growing. To me, like the currency moving forward, if you take out the system that we're in with money, and then you take out Bitcoin or digital currency, what you're left with is going to be real tangible things, which I keep thinking back. If the whole system falls apart, you're left with seeds and bullets is what the currency is going to be. And especially seeds, because, you know, people got to eat. So I don't know. I like that idea of exploring that and simplifying that. To me, that's a much more digestible way of thinking about the future for somebody who's way on the outskirts, right? It's about creating an example of what it is that you want them to learn, right? Like COVID shots, people still don't even understand that, right? They're still getting back in line. But if they see over and over and over and over again that the unjabbed are doing okay, in fact, they're living, you know, they're happy and they're living healthy lives, eventually that's going to connect with them. And so I think there's like simpler ways to digest it. But I do think that that there's just a lot of information there that if it's laid out, you know, for somebody like me or somebody 1,000 miles that way, that, you know, it just has to be out there. That's what I think. A lot of this information just has to be there. We have this, if we don't put it out now, when are we going to put it out? Because there's a lot of attack on information right now. So, you know, my Twitter account is where I sort of just make quick, you know, statements these days, and I just put them out there as, you know, I guess, you know, a truth bomb or something, whatever, however you would want to classify it. Just hit people with that, because even if they don't believe it now, they have to at least see it over and over again to warm them up to getting to that edge.
Just real quick to answer that, I have a contract killer course. It's a 39 days, one video per day. I have a state national theory page, which is an entire book that starts off at the ground floor and then goes up through everything. It's all free, 100% free. I have a YouTube channel, tons and tons of shows. I go on a show almost every single day. Today I actually have two, this one and another one. Then I have all my social medias. I put all sorts of things on there. We have a private group. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of people testing things and sending things in and all sharing their letters. And yeah, we have a whole... I have 3 10-minute videos, which are pinned on my Instagram. It's the easiest and fastest way to find them. There are 3 10-minute primer videos. I have one primer video on infinite money. I have one primer video on traveling without having a certificate of title, without having a driver's license, without having registration or any of that stuff, operating with a passport and a private motor carrier DOT number and how that works. And then I have another 10-minute video on nationality and how to legally never pay taxes again. And those are my most popular videos because they're very, very, very funny, very silly, very simple, very, very fast-paced, and very, very shareable.
Dude, that's amazing. Hey guys, and the audience, I just shared Brandon's X account on there in the chat. Check that out. You know, talking about a lot of this stuff, what things often come down to, I find, is this idea that within our capacity, our sort of divine capacity, there is this access to infinite abundance. And it's this powerful thing that can change everything. It could change the whole world. And I'm curious to just dive into the flat earth a little bit and what your guys' takes on some of this, because people are saying it in the chat. And I always find it a fun conversation. And why don't you guys, I'm curious, who wants to come out as a flat earther? That's what I want to say right now.
I've already come out as flat earther a long time ago. I woke up to flat earth 2016, 2015, right around there. It took me about 6 months. And of course, I went in to disprove it. I was like, I'm so schooled. I was like, my friend, he's sick. I have to help him. He's mentally unwell. You know, I'm going to go through all the materials he's showing me, and I'm going to disprove every single one. And I started to try to disprove Eric Dubé's 200 proofs. I'd love someone to try that. They'll wake you up. And so then I went and got my own P900 camera, and I started to do my own experiments, because this is a spiritual sea change, and it's not really something like people will tell you things, but it's only going to take you so far. You actually have to go through like a physical process of like purging the junk that was fed you, and it's different for different people. And you know, for me, I wept when it clicked, and it really did come like a click into place for me. Just on a basic drive heading west, the sun was to the front of me, and it was very straight, and the telephone poles were going into perspective just like a long hallway. And I realized the sun doesn't set, it just moves away. And I cried the whole way through that. And I did the stupid thing where, you know, you go on socials like, oh my God, I figured it out. And yeah, that doesn't go well. Don't do that. But you know, it's really, we're getting to really huge truths now. I mean, we're realizing that the liars have been doing this, you know, since the reset, and destroying our history and inserting all of these false ideas. And we're from law to to health to there's actually a documentary. It's called The Sunshine Makers. I highly recommend it. It's about LSD, but in it, like we were talking about, how do you wake people up and stuff? I think we should have like LSD parties for people that just get them through these things really quickly, you know? Because they were saying in the documentary, if you want to wake people back up to love, you know, because everything really comes back to love in your heart. And when you do that, you find yourself within, and then you know what's true and what isn't, and you can't be fooled anymore. You can't be lied to anymore. Same thing with the virus lie, right? You can't be manipulated anymore. And he suggested that they just put LSD in the drinking water, and then everything, all the problems of the world would be solved. It's a really good documentary. But yeah, and it's more about what, like, the lie is there, but now because of it, we don't have the truth really. Now we're all new investigators all over again. People are doing science. I mean, David Weiss is in the chat here. I mean, people are doing work. Yeah.
You guys, okay, I want to check in real quick. We've been 2 hours on this stream. Does anybody, how's everybody doing for time?
I got like 30 more minutes and I got to bounce.
I just moved an appointment. I just moved an appointment, so I can actually stay on until about 4:40 my time, which is
okay. Well, how
minutes.
about this, folks? Since we're going down the flat Earth rabbit hole, I got Dave Weiss. We can bring him in, and so if we want to make this variety show where we cycle in and out, if people want to peace out, that's fine. I'm willing to go for a little while longer. Bring in Dave Weiss. We can really go deep. And yeah, if anybody wants to jump out or anything like that, that's totally cool. Is that cool with you guys?
I love Dave.
Yeah.
So
I'll jump out. I'll jump out. I've got family coming.
Brad, you're gonna jump out. All good, brother. All good.
I want to say one thing to Brad though. That you know, we were talking about the Beatles and stuff, and how you can bring truth drops to people. Well, you do the greatest, easiest, like most powerful ways through music and art.
Right.
Like, and we see that through your music, man. Like, you like to play a song that's well crafted and using, you know, harmonic fits, and that is really tapping into the true nature of reality in a way that can deliver truth. That is how we bring truth to the masses, and that's what Music in Sky is all about. That's what we're doing at Confluence. They're bringing that in more to like Anarchapulco, which was awesome to see you perform. So keep rocking, bro, because the Beatles and these guys were all brought into. Actually, there are so much truth bombs in the Beatles music. There really is, but it's not in a way, it's like deceptive, right? And inverted on purpose. And like, we are now moving into a time when like we can have a real truth music, and it's really exciting. So I just want to say how much I appreciate you, man. And thank you for all you do. And you just rock. I can't wait to hang out with you again in Texas and see you perform again. And also we're having Brad come back to Music in Sky. We're getting the details finalized, and he's going to perform in front of 1,000 people. Wow. We're going to have 1,000 people at Music in Sky this year. And it's going to be an epic moment. I cannot wait to video that and see all the hands in the air and people going off to you. And then also you're playing a big event in England, right? That's a pretty sizable festival.
Yeah, I'll be at an event. This is our second year doing it, called Jam for Freedom, which is 3 days of like freedom-minded musicians and speakers, which is an incredible thing, especially over in the UK. But you know, that's what excites me the most about art and culture right now, is that these things that didn't exist 3 years ago now exist and are coming into play. Music and Sky and Confluence and Jam for Freedom and what we have in front of us, to piggyback off what you're saying, is like something that we haven't had, a cultural responsibility as artists and musicians that we haven't really, I would say, ever had, but most comparatively to like the 60s and that era of protest music and speaking out. We have that kind of influential power right now to really open minds and make them think, but in a real way that hasn't really ever been done before. So that really excites me, and it excites me of what everybody here is doing with their events, and it's really cool to see. So I'm definitely excited to be a part of that. But yeah, for sure, music is a powerful way to make it easily digestible. So, you know, when I get a chance to sit down with Brandon and turn this into a lyrical, catchy melody, we'll get people to wake up.
I play guitar and sing too, so we'll do some.
Let's write a pop tune.
We'll have some fun.
Yeah, so cool. I appreciate
Brad,
it,
so why
guys.
don't you give us the shout out of your stuff. Where do people follow you and send you off? Tell them where to go.
Sure. So you can check out 5timesaugust.com. That's the website. We've got records and CDs and even cassette tapes there. So start owning your stuff again. Step out of the digital world. Streaming's great. Downloading's good. But buying it and holding it is the best way to support the music, and you have it forever. It's a document. You can find me on Twitter or X at 5timesaugust and across all the other social platforms as well. But yeah, if we can bring me back on the show for a music conspiracy chat, I'd love to have that.
Dude,
chat.
I want to go
and Michael Jackson and all that stuff.
Yes, I want to go down the rabbit hole with you.
Cool.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Thanks, Brad.
I'll just say most of those guys are on an island on the other side of the ice wall. And
with
Dave Weiss is here.
Dave Weiss in the house, impromptu special guest.
Wow, I'm here with all my brothers and sisters, legends. And Brandon, we've never spoken, but I am a big fan of you. I just have a question and a request.
Here we go. Round 2. Let's go, Dave.
The request is there any chance you could eliminate swearing in your videos?
No, God, no.
Thank God.
That's like saying, can you remove all the salt and spice from the Mexican
absolutely.
food? No, absolutely not.
And I might be late. It might have been discussed already. Well, what's going on with the pickles off to your right? What's up there?
Someone painted this for me, and I had it framed. You know, I didn't choose the pickle. The pickle chose me. All the people.
Have you heard his bio?
I'm not sure.
Can I let me find his bio?
I was actually literally kidding when I sent Alec this, and he actually posted it, and I've been like dying laughing. I was like, I didn't know it was gonna get posted on the freaking website. I was like, I don't know what you need a bio for. It's like
on the Confluence.
How do I even make a bio? I don't even know, dude. Like,
I listened to your whole series. I think it's your main series, and you only feed them once a day. I was petrified of missing one day for the wrath I might get from you with your emails. So I didn't miss a single day. It worked.
Discipline and performance. I love it. Discipline and performance. Is he?
It was awesome. It was very awesome.
His literal bio on the Confluence website is lawyer who is a human pickle, teaches others how to move out of the country on paper without physically moving out of the country.
That's an interesting bio.
Accurate description, though. Teaches people how to move out of the country on paper without physically moving out of the country.
Good, huh?
Yeah.
So, guys, we got Flat Earth Dave in the house. Dave, I want you to red pill. Give the audience who don't know you, give them the elevator pitch. Tell them what's up. Take us through.
The elevator pitch is the hardest one, but basically
Okay.
every sense that you have, every experience that you've ever had is on a flat, non-rotating, level, horizontal, topographical plane. Any evidence that you think you have that it's moving, you really haven't looked at it. And once you understand, that how sunsets happen, how seasons happen, how time zones happen, all of that, how it really only makes sense on a flat Earth, you throw your hands up, you say, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. Well, here's one thing. I don't have to go to work on Monday. I mean, I work harder than I ever worked before, but I do what I love now. And it's an amazing journey. But, saying doesn't matter. It's like Plato's allegory of the cave. It doesn't matter that there's more than just those shadows on the wall. There's more than what they're showing us. They're hiding our true potential. They're hiding our ability to imagine our future. Imagination creates your reality. And if you are literally trapped inside this ball, you've limited your potential. That's the elevator pitch right there.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Amanda?
Yeah.
My sister in flatness.
Yes. What?
Amanda is amazing, a warrior out there on Facebook, just going at the trolls left and right. I can't even keep up with all the stuff that she's doing out there.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, I don't kind of care what people think. So I just say what I mean. And there's a lot of controlled opposition. And people need to be honest in these times, right? Because it's so rare to see authenticity and genuine people. And yeah, when I start talking about something, I don't stop. And anyway, people will catch up to the material eventually because this shit show is going down. So they will realize that they've never been to outer space, man. They've never been to the moon. Like, how long can you lie about Mars and lie about what they're doing before it comes clear that they don't go anywhere? Like, they've been promising trips to the moon. They've been promising. They keep moving the goalpost, and you can't move
They were
it
just on the
forever.
moon. They just landed on the moon, Amanda.
Yeah, they just did it again with CGI. And the thing is, they have way better CGI than that. It's like at this point they're just mocking us. Are they going to figure it out yet, or do we have to make India do CGI, because that was even more embarrassing? But yeah, it's a tough one. It's really, this is about the spirit and the mind, right? And the cognitive dissonance is hard for people. And also there's different ways that people grow through life. Like, I have an open mind center in my human design system. If people don't know about astrology and human design system, it's really helpful to know your human design, because then you know where you get trapped and stuck. And I have an open mind literally in my chart. So I can really entertain new ideas. My ego might come up first, but I've recognized and learned what the ego looks like when it gets its haunches up, right? And that's what happens with like these big topics. The haunches come up immediately and they defend the belief. They don't know why they're defending the belief. Why even defend a belief that your handlers lied to you about? Why would you do that? That's not logical, right? But it's just hypnosis and programming, and it's just reaction. But if you're wired tight, like if you have a closed center in the mind, it's even harder to come to this knowledge. And so sometimes we have to do like the bitch slap, which I will do, tough love. And sometimes we have to come with the kid gloves and the compassion. It depends on the situation. And I want to urge people. I know it's difficult. I know what's going to happen to you, because it happens to all of us. On my Telegram channel, if you type in flat earth and read like I think it's like 25 steps to awakening to flat earth now, but because it kept growing, but really to go through the stages, like I think stage number 5 or 6 is that it's a psyop. People say it's a psyop, right? And they'll stop there because they don't want to either put in the work, or they want to fit in with their people, and they don't want to rock the boat. And they realize that when you wake up to this, you start to question everything, and it's a lot more work, right? You have to question evolution. You have to question climate change. You have to question who these government agencies are. You have to question where the money's going to NASA. Like, it just opens up more can of worms that now you have to deal with. And a lot of people are tired or exhausted or in situations like this, and they don't want to do that work. But I usually say to people, if you haven't put in the effort and put in the work and gone it to David's got everything in one place. You really can just go to his resources and go through them. If you haven't, then try to breathe through it instead of going, well, but what about this and what about that? Like, this is the trigger, because you don't have any skin in the game, because you don't know the information yet. We all were indoctrinated to the ball earth. We know the model, okay? And it doesn't hold water. If you go through in step by step, you look at it, it's all BS. And maybe David, if you want to show like some of your materials to help people.
I want to see some of that
like,
from Dave, but I want to know if Dave is drinking his own piss yet.
I cannot confirm or deny. I cannot confirm or deny any of that. But Amanda has some of my photos of some of the great view I have on Saturday morning sometimes. So
I have evidence. Don't worry.
We'll leave it. We'll leave it at that. I'm way down that road. So, what I wanted to say. Oh, I wanted to say, flat Earth is actually taking off faster and faster, and the evidence of that was in Acapulco. I was there with Mike and all you guys were there. And when I went up to do my presentation, I said, "How many of you are globe earthers?" And out of the packed audience, 3 or 4 people raised their hands, and one of them was Alec. Okay, and he was just busting my stones. But the globers are afraid to admit that they're globers now. The tide has turned. There's enough people out here where the geometric progression of people waking people up is happening so fast. I don't see how we're going to get through 2024 unless some major event happens on March 11th that stops us from, taking care of business. Right? So
what's
I
happening?
I will go
11th,
on record
Dave?
and say that I absolutely raised my hand just to poke fun at you, and I
know that. I know that.
I'm not a heliocentricist. Let's just put it that way.
You're not a heliosexual. You're not a
I'm not a
heliosexual.
heliosexual. Yeah.
A Healy said, dude, what's going on March 11th?
March 11th, in history, so many things happened. Giant earthquake in Japan, and a whole bunch of things happened on March 11th. I just threw that out there. So now nothing will happen because I said it on a podcast. So therefore, we can never be proven right.
Dave, so I already know what you think about the shape of this realm. I think it's obvious at this point. I want to know whether you're voting for Trump or RFK.
I was kind of really disappointed to hear that Michael Obama isn't running, because I was going to vote for Michael.
Big Mike.
Yeah, Big Mike. I don't know why I lost my folk there. It'll come back. I'm
surprised we haven't seen Big Mike up on the roster yet.
I don't do any of those things Brandon tells me not to do, so I don't do any of them.
Well, Brandon, I actually want to know what you think about whether presidents and presidential candidates, I think I texted you about this pretty recently, know about the true nature of our relationship to the federal corporation that is the U.S. or the corporation that is the federal government.
God, no.
You don't think they know?
No.
What makes you think that?
It's how many people do you know are good at keeping secrets?
I mean, brother, like when it comes to the knowledge that you're sharing with people, this is not new information that you're sharing, and I don't mean that in any offense. I'm saying that this information is publicly available, but the overwhelming majority of people don't know it. Now, with that being said, like I like to apply my knowledge of the way military operations work, given that I was in the Army and I went to West Point, and I know how compartmentalization works. And I know that at the very tippy top, there is people who are in the know and have sort of an understanding of all of the intersecting points that are at play. Whereas at lower levels, most people have no idea what's going on. So of course, like agents of the IRS have no clue about this stuff.
People think I'm at the top of the totem pole, and I'm learning new shit every day. So I don't know.
No. And I don't disagree on that, but I'm saying a president of the United States.
No.
You don't think they know?
Maybe they know that it's a corporation. Maybe, but they don't know what that means. They don't know what a corporation is. They don't know how that changes things. They don't, that's, I mean, just because someone knows that the government's a corporation doesn't necessarily mean anything. People can sit around, oh, did you know the government's a corporation? Well, how fascinating. You want another drink? Yeah, I do actually. That's it. I mean, what is there, if there's no connecting information, if there's nothing to talk about, why is that interesting? What does that mean? What could that mean?
So you don't think the presidents know they're like the CEO of the corporation?
No.
Brenda, I have a question for you. You have people go, people go to court and they quote their rights and everything. These judges have to know, right? Because if they don't know the law, the real law, then how does that work? Like, do all the judges know the truth in this?
The only people who do know some of this, and they do have more of a robust knowledge of this, would be judges. Now, does that mean that judges are all bad people now because they know this information and they don't share it? No. There is a lot of different ways to do a lot of different things in the law. And one of the interesting things behind the bar card system is the control mechanism behind the bar card is if anything you say could be construed as legal advice, we're going to pull your bar card, and everybody worships their bar card. So if you want to point the finger at somebody, I suppose you could point at the bar association. They're the only ones they're the ones that create the control mechanism that I guess in a way you could say muzzles the judges who may want to say something. Or maybe even the bar card attorneys, which I doubt. They love all this. They love the fact that you're in a game that you don't know the rules of, and they can just pounce on you and rip you apart. It's like a daily sexual experience for most of them. But the bar association would be the better. But then you go on the bar association website, and they've got articles on attorneys at law and how they don't need to be licensed, and it's just the whole thing is just goofy. The whole thing is goofy. A lot of it just comes down to subliminal brainwashing, where you look at media, you look at video games, and they say licensed attorney, they say bar card, they say these different things, and nobody asks any questions. And then, they want to, the globalists love to be protected. They love to put things in plain sight. You can go online and look up every single person who has access to the Federal Reserve discount window. 2 clicks, you can type in anything you want. And they put up their hands and they go, what are you talking about? This is all secret. We've got a whole website, FRBdiscountwindow.gov or whatever it is. And we got OC10 agreements and you can fill one out for yourself. We got everything. Everything's right there. Or they say that the United States Code is published on the internet in multiple locations. What are we hiding? And to some degree, they are actually correct. The only thing I've ever found that is truly, 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 truly hidden, and I mean like really hidden, is the difference in the definition of the word state when it's capitalized and when it's non-capitalized. That they really went to some effort to try to not get into that, hide that. Anytime you click on the lowercase s that's non-capitalized, the definition actually goes to the capital definition of the word s, and it's very, very vague. That is a fascinating rabbit hole because you have 2 different versions of each individual state. You have State of California, which is a corporation located in the District of Columbia, and then you have California Republic. But then you also have other states inside that state, such as Slowjamistan, such as other micronations. So the definition of the word state is actually way different than literally anybody, probably even judges, know. And I think that's, besides the word state, literally almost everything else I've ever dug into, looked for, is actually pretty published, and it is actually pretty available. And I wouldn't really go so far as to say a lot of this is necessarily secret. It's just overly complicated on purpose and difficult to piece together. That's
that was my point. And like what I was saying in that is that if I'm correct in that the way the U.S. military operates, and I have direct experience of that, is also the way the federal government operates in terms of compartmentalization, with only a select few people at the top having a knowledge of how all parts work together. I would say it's very, very, very likely that presidents are in the know on all the things that you are coming to understand and share with the world.
Maybe some of them.
I don't think so.
Some of them got to
Alec.
be so compartmentalized and stupid that there's no way that they would even have
Can
the
you
care.
name one thing that
Yeah, what are you
Biden
saying?
knows? One thing that Biden knows.
Biden
Anything.
might be
Well-
the exception.
He knows how delicious ice cream is. Come on now, guys.
I'll
He
just say
knows
this
his son is a
I'll-
pervert.
I'll just say
I
this
gotta
from-
bounce, you guys. I gotta bounce.
Okay.
Okay,
See,
right
Alec.
on, Alec.
Much
I'll
love.
just say this
Bye.
love you, Alec. Later, brother.
Right on, brother. The
From
paladin is
personal
gone.
experience, shouldn't say this stuff, but okay. So I have friends that are whose parents are billionaires that hang out with the Clintons. They don't know this stuff at all. I have distant family through marriage, whose great grandfather was a Secretary of Defense with Eisenhower. Their family doesn't know about this stuff. Like, this is, I think there's a reason why they don't know about it. I think we've lost a lot of this, actually. But yeah, they're inculcated, right? They're incubated. They just serve a role. And I also see the world as a stage. They're all actors on a stage, and there's very few that understand the script. So, but yeah, I can just say from personal experience and knowing a lot of power players, I was shocked to find out, like, some of these people,
Yeah.
like talking to them, like one of them whose son was an ex-business partner of mine, and I was getting deep into the law gravy with him, and I was like, your dad doesn't know this stuff? Really? Like, wow. So
I
playing
met one billionaire one time, mega billionaire. And he said, Brandon, he said, the definition of the word person, when they redefined it in the 1800s, was the downfall of all of law. And I thought he knew more than that. So I asked him some additional questions. And he didn't really know. He was a very open guy. He wasn't like trying to hide anything from me. He just knew that when the word person was expanded to include corporations, trusts, associations, partnerships, companies, and corporations, he just knew that something about that was very bad. But he just doesn't. That was it. That's all he knew.
I actually think though a lot of like the royal families and stuff get all this. Like, and I think there's a lot of
They must.
people we don't know about, obviously, like going back to the actors on the stage, the Soroses, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, those are all just the actors on the stage.
Well, someone made this game. Now, the other thing I think that one thing I think, if you want to talk about interesting conspiracy theories, if you study the United States Code and the CFR and state law and everything else, UCC, you realize everything fits together beautifully. There's no way a large group of writers and coordinators would be able to coordinate all of this as well as it is with all the definitions. I believe the only way that you can have everything fit together as well as it is and be as large and crazy as it is there has to be a very small number of people that are writing and rewriting all of this stuff. There's no way. There's no way that 300, 400, 500 people were properly coordinated to get all this to. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think it was a small handful of people that wrote all of this and that continue to write all of this. And those people know everything. Besides those people, I don't know, man. I just really don't think anyone knows. I just really, really, really don't think anyone knows. And I think the biggest mistake I've ever made and the biggest mistake that other people make is to think that they know and they don't tell us on purpose. And then it becomes this vengeance activity where and you don't, this and that, and this and that, I thought that for a while. And now I most definitely do not. Absolutely.
How can they know when they're busy diddling kids, snorting cocaine and partying it up and memorizing lines? I mean, that's all they have to do.
I think a lot of politicians like the Clintons, I think they are filed as nationals of the United States, non-citizen nationals, because it gives them tremendous legal protection from indictments, which is why they're so hard to tie down. But I think somebody else did it for them. I don't think they have a clue how any of this works. But I think they are nationals.
Dave, what do you think about all that?
About the elite knowing?
Yeah, like as far going up to these super narrow compartmentalization areas of the pyramid, like where because there's got to be some people that know obviously more than others.
We're all just from the orphan trains, and they're the original, right, Dave? We're from the orphan trains, and they're the original, people from the pre-reset.
We could be from the Cabbage Patch, who knows? But I think that the ones that we know aren't the true leaders. They're just the puppets of the leaders that we don't know. And I would say, as far up as we can see, I would say most of them do not know. I kind of agree with Brandon here that they're just doing their thing, and the whole state national thing, that makes perfect sense. It makes them just harder to indict. And they all have blackmail on each other and stuff. So it's like it's really hard to anyone to rat anyone else out, because then everything comes out. It's like the mobs, competing mobs. They don't go ratting on each other. They fight each other a little bit, but they don't go to the government and tell everyone how the mob is working.
Someone in the chat was asking Brandon, what is legal construction? Maybe you can briefly touch on that.
I don't know. I don't know what the question's referring to. Constructive trusts or something like that would be like if I created a trust in your name in all capital letters and then I used it to steal your identity, that would be called a constructive trust. So I don't know if that's what they're referring to. I just don't know. It would need to be reworded or there'd need to be more information to find out what exactly they're asking. I do have to run off of here in about 7 minutes though.
I got to bounce right now. Hey, love you guys. Can't wait to hang with you all in Texas. We'll miss you, Dave. Wish you could come.
I wish I could too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Have fun in the UK, buddy.
Next time. Amanda,
Mike, shout out Music and he's gone. Never mind. Oh, no. Shout out Music and Sky. Some people were like, how come there's not a confluence in California?
Yeah. So Music and Sky, musicandsky.com, going down June 20th to 24th. It's phenomenal, an amazing event. We drop all the truth bombs, but it's like really just a great gathering of people that are all getting this, but are all independent, their own person, no judgment. You come as you are, and it's the thing that ties us all together is we all respect and love freedom, and really health conscious crowd. Amanda was at the last one. We dealt with every single type of natural disaster, and it was still epic. And so hurricane, earthquake, fire, deluge. So yeah, this is Northern California, summer solstice camp out. It's very similar to Confluence. We got amazing music. We got a creek running through it. It's at the gateway of the Redwoods in this huge flowing, beautiful place. Just check it out, musicandsky.com. And yeah, look forward. It's all about hanging in the real in person, guys. Like the more you can go to these things, whether it's Confluence, Anarchapulco, Music and Sky, like just try to get to one in your neck of the woods. And one thing we are focusing on Music and Sky, hopefully after this one, is we're trying to decentralize it more and have little Music and Skies everywhere. It's been like my vision and trying to figure this out so that we can have more of these gatherings in your neck of the woods so people can get together, because that's really what's most important. I feel like is the digital stuff's awesome and I work in that world, but coming together right now is so important in celebrating life and also just all the great ideas that come out of this. Like when I was hanging with Curtis and Dave and Alec and Sophie and Yerasimos and all these amazing people in Mexico just this last time, like how many like just absolute amazing ideas that were developed there that are going to now go into the ether, into the realities and become real and like become things and change the world. So come be a part of it, and I'll see you guys in Texas.
All right, man. Thanks.
Right on, Mike. And hey, we're going to keep going here, Dave. I'm going to let you talk, but I'm just going to real quick set up. Yerasimos is coming in, another Anarchapulco speaker who's also going to be at Confluence, another special guest. He's going to pop in. I'll bring him in. Dave, go ahead and finish what you were going to say there. Or go ahead. And
I was just going to finish up on what Mike was saying, that, going to these events and listening to all these speakers, I was expecting to hear a lot of the same stuff that I knew, but most of the stuff I heard was a new way to look at things and completely new stuff. And just expanding your mind with knowledge like that changes your reality. But think of all of the normies out there that don't know any of this, don't know anything Brandon's talking about, don't know anything I'm talking about, don't know urban farming. All they know is the food comes from the grocery store, and their ability to manifest their future is limited. Limited is a too liberal of a word. It should be it's completely restricted. So, understanding reality changes your world. So why does it matter? It all matters. All of this matters. Amanda is making huge changes to people's understanding of medical freedom. My friend who just gets me eggs at the farmer's market came over today, and she goes, I used to think ivermectin was good, but I was watching Amanda. Oh my God, it's poison. She's freaking out. She's like, oh my God. So you're changing people all the time, and people, just learning new stuff all the time is the way to change the world. Way to change your world, at least.
Amazing. And you guys, we've got Yerasimos coming in here. He's another speaker who was at Anarchapulco, and he's going to be at Confluence as well. And I didn't prepare a Dungeons and Dragons character for him, just like I didn't for Dave either. But hey, Dave, did you used to play Dungeons and Dragons at all?
Never, not once.
Never, not once. Okay, well, I had this whole thing going on, but I'm just going to share the screen here. There's Yerasimos. He's coming in the stream. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? I saw that iMessage thread going off after I got off this 2-hour call, and I was like, let me just say hello. Yo, I appreciate you inviting me to come on. Amanda, nice to see your face.
Hey, Erasmus.
Dave, what's
Good to
up?
see
Brandon,
you.
we've never met before, but nice to connect. I'm here.
Hey.
Curtis, man, always a pleasure to see you, man. I'm happy we had a chance to connect back in Acapulco.
Absolutely. And kind of fun too. I'm hoping to do this at Confluence just like I did at Anarchapulco. Have this rotating, run this long stream and just bring people in and let people go out. And it was funny because we did one with Andrew Coffin, myself, Mike Winner. Alec couldn't show up. We had Marjorie Wildcraft. We had David Avocado Wolf in. And then you came in the last half an hour, and here you are now. So I was thinking we could do another go till like up 20, 30 minutes, folks, if you want to. I'm willing. My wife is saying I can stay out before dinner, but that's what we're going to do. And yeah, Erasmus, welcome, brother.
Good to be here, man. I appreciate it. I'm on the East Coast right now.
I'm going to actually exit, guys, real quick. Sorry to cut you off. I'm going to actually head out now. Okay, guys?
No
All
worries,
right, Brandon.
bro.
Later,
Take care,
Brandon.
brother.
Thanks, guys. See you
Later.
later.
Thanks for showing up. We'll see
Yeah,
you
it was
soon.
fun popping on in Acapulco with Presty too. It was great to hang with that guy. But yeah, I'm doing well, man. I mean, obviously a lot of things have been going on in my life recently. I won't get too into it, but yeah, I'm good. I'm back in New Jersey.
What are you going to be talking about at Confluence?
My wife and I are doing we're doing a workshop on human design, and then we're doing another workshop on like nervous system related stuff. So we're still kind of figuring out the specifics of that. I'm not sure if you've heard of human design before. I know, Amanda, we talked about it at the last one. So yeah, looking forward to getting into that. And I just can't wait to hang with everyone. We were at the last Confluence in April, and it was just fun. Just great group of people coming together. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I will be going to Music in the Sky. I don't think Mike Mike doesn't have my information yet because we're filling it out, but I'm doing that one too. And I think that's all I can handle. It's like three major festivals a year for me. And I don't know what I'm talking about, Music Sky, maybe the same thing. I don't know yet, but for Confluence, what I'm doing is I'm going to focus on dimethyl sulfoxide, DMSO, and I'm going to go in really deep. So like I presented DMSO, not to that crowd, but many times before. Obviously it's my wheelhouse, but just really from things that people wouldn't know about it, really more obscure things or deep, more finer details. So that's what I'll be presenting this year. And I have a lot of stuff already shipped from my store that's at Confluence now. So they have a really great store. And I have all kinds of my products that are going to be there. Last time I brought a few things in my suitcase, and people were fighting over it, over like the few things I brought. So this time I'm coming a little more prepared. So it'll be great. Yeah.
Confluence and Music in Sky, I mean, two of my favorite events. I mean, the first Confluence was last April, was it? I think I'm losing track of or it was October. anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
October. But then this will be my 5th Music and Sky, and I know this one's going to be different. You know, up in the I don't know, NorCal, up in the woods. They're looking to have a lot more people there. So I'm excited there because, you know, my business partner, Joel Rafiti, who I have my podcast with on our group coaching business, he's going to be coming there with his family. He's working on a new album too because he's a conscious hip hop artist as well. So he's going to be performing there. We'll probably be doing something together. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just love hanging out. Online's one thing. We've built an online community. I'm sure everyone here has built an online community, but when you get to come together and see each other and hug each other and laugh and talk shit, it's just something, it's different.
I know it is. Of course, it's different. And I think after 2 years of COVID bullshit, I mean, I haven't flown for 3 years until Mexico there a few weeks ago, hanging out with you guys. And so there is something special more and more about life in the real world. Really connecting with people, and you know, all you guys. Actually, Amanda's the one I have yet to meet up with in person out of us who is here now, but you know, hanging out with Dave Weiss and Andrew Kaufman and all these guys, and it's amazing. It's amazing the people you meet too, and even the attendees. I met so many so switched on people that are doing shit, and it's inspiring, man. We need that inspiration. We need to get refueled with each other's chi, if you will.
Yeah, Curtis. First of all, just gonna let you know, hanging out with Amanda in person is a lot of fun. So you're in for a treat.
You don't even know the half of it.
I'm hoping that I can get a stream going where Amanda and Dr. Kaufman discuss urine therapy.
I have
my wife
video
has
of,
been
you know,
bugging me
of
for
these
this
two.
one.
Yeah,
You do?
he is.
Both of them?
Amanda, I had a wicked earache one morning. It just came out of nowhere. So I put some urine and some DMSO in my ear, and it went away immediately.
Yeah, brilliant. So easy. I mean,
Is
we're
the
getting
magic
that
remedy,
place where
DMSO and urine
together.
I
Yeah.
put
together?
a tiny bit in there, and then I put a little DMSO to make it go, and it literally, the pain disappeared instantly.
Yeah, you gotta get on that.
Amanda, what's your thoughts on Andy Kaufman's turpentine procedure? Has he told you about that?
On a latest one, I don't know, but turpentine's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, there's anything from trees is going to be very powerful. So yeah.
That's right.
I've been
DMSO
doing
and
turpentine. I've been doing turpentine for years, and every time I turn a friend onto it, they get a bottle, and on the bottle is a warning: "Do not eat. This is fatal if swallowed." You know, so teaching people about turpentine is harder than teaching them about flat Earth. It just is. But some people get it. Some people get it.
Yeah. Yeah, David,
Hey,
can you explain something quickly just for someone
Sure.
that asked? Someone asked in the chat, just if you could just quickly explain tides on a flat Earth. Just I don't know if you have anything you pull up or just they're just not sure
Like,
what it means.
Dave, you
Tides.
probably got
Yeah.
a slide you can pull up.
So
Yeah.
so tides are definitely not caused by the moon. You think about it, when there's a new moon, that means the moon and the sun are lined up on the same side. There should be massive tides, but there's not. When there's a full moon, the moon is 180 degrees across from the sun in the helio-nonsensical model. There's larger tides. So that doesn't make any sense. However, when the moon is fully full, it's powered up. It's electrical. So there is an electrical influence, and it's the magnetic fields of the Earth that the tides go to. So if you actually look at the magnetic field chart of the Earth and then line that up with things called tidal nodes, this is showing these tidal nodes that are all over the place. Oh, excuse me, all over the place, and there's high tides and low tides that circle around them. There's no tide in the Maldives. It's like inches. In Alaska, there's 30-foot tides. In Australia, there's 4-foot tides, 5-foot tides, you know? It all depends on where it is. So the entire idea that the moon is pulling the water away from the Earth is again, it's just completely nonsensical, right? The Earth, the moon pulls the water away. And then there's a high tide on the other side of the Earth. You know what they say? They say, well, the moon's pulling the Earth away from the water, causing another hump of water. So that's all ridiculous. But one thing I only have a couple minutes, but I wanted to talk about time zones just for a second. So if you wrap the Earth around a ball, the southern areas get smaller, right? They get smaller. So how do you deal with that? So time zones on a globe are 24 lines from the North Pole to the South Pole, separating, like an orange sections. And as the Earth spins, wherever the sun is, it's noon, and there are your time zones. That's what people understand time zones to be. But they tell us that the Earth is tilted. So first, your sun rays are coming in parallel from a distant sun, and they tell us that the Earth is tilted. So the time zones still go north to south, but they're tilted. So they don't show us time zones like this. They don't show us that they cross across the like if you look at South America, it literally goes across, and it doesn't make sense because the time zones go from north to south, and that it works perfectly on a flat Earth. But here's the thing: remember, I said the outside, the southern areas are getting crushed into a smaller area. So that would mean that in reality, on a flat Earth, those time zones are much wider, and you think that people might notice it. So did you know that in the north, there's 19 time zones? There's 24 in the tropics area, and there's 32 in the south. 32 time zones. Welcome to flat Earth.
Yeah, and then there's the international date line. Like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, the international date line, which goes all over the place. It crosses 3.5 time zones, and of course, for those of you that've seen my talk on Kiribati, that's right in the middle of that area, which just makes absolutely no sense.
There's so many ways to pull apart the globe. I mean, you can come at it a million ways to one, and it falls apart. And I think the problem is people don't investigate it because it was indoctrinated into us at birth. So why would you question it? You just don't think about that all day, right?
Neil deGrasse Tyson says, we don't want to give flat earthers any attention on the platform because it's so ridiculous. No, that's not how science works. Somebody challenges you, you crush them with real science, right? But they can't. He can never talk to us. He can only strawman us in videos where he's talking to himself or to his little cohort on his Star Talk show, right? He'll never talk to us live because then we'll ask him questions that he can't answer. So
yeah.
The international date line and the island of Kiribati, look into it. It's crazy stuff.
So nuts.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any logical sense at all.
No, none of it does. But the flat Earth makes perfect sense. And the thing is, I keep saying it. It's why the lie is my favorite question, because this is the one that changes everything. When you wake up to flat Earth, you no longer can go back to sleep. You can no longer forget about it. And all of a sudden you start seeing all of the other things. I mean, all of the flat earthers on on all those blue dots on my map that have the app, they're all awake and aware, and they know who Amanda is, and they know about farming, and they know all sorts of stuff. It's kind of amazing that all of these people are awake and aware. What do they have in common? They all know the Earth is flat, and they've woken up to the deception of our world.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
Just do the work, people. Rory Cooper, my perspective, when I was trying to go through this, okay, and I thought my friend was mentally unwell and I had to heal him and whatever, I stumbled onto my perspective, Rory Cooper's work. Now, his original channels have been shut down multiple times. If it's so ridiculous, why do you have to censor it, But anyway, there are a few people who've brought up, re-brought his, videos to the forefront. And for mathematical minds, yeah, you have some on your channel too, right? It just helps. It helped me so much because he gives the visuals. I'm a visual learner. A lot of people are visual learners, and he just shows you how absolutely ridiculous 100%. It is, and there's no going back after that.
So on my app, I have a video search feature. You click the little magnifying glass, and just type in Rory, and when you click it, up comes all of his videos, which have been mirrored onto my Web3 servers. And so It's all there. All the videos that they're hiding from you, you can find on the app just by searching them. Like, did I do an interview on Flat Earth with Amanda? I actually don't remember, but let me type in.
I think you have the two, maybe of the two that I've done. I've done one with Kelly Brogan, and I did the one debate
There it
with
is.
Eric.
I
Yeah.
just typed in Amanda. There it is, and the one that you did with that NASA guy or that space
Eric.
loving guy.
Yeah.
That was these are fantastic videos. But again, I wouldn't even know where to find them. It would take me hours to find them. Now that I have this search feature, I love it better than anybody else. I made it for myself, but everyone else is using it. So it's actually very, very handy. Like people say I was on InfoWars. If I type in InfoWars, now YouTube deleted my video of InfoWars. I went against their terms and policy, but it's right here. And that's because anytime I upload anything to my channel, it immediately gets copied onto my Web3 server. And then when YouTube deletes it, the search will go look for it when you search and find it on my Web3 server. So staying a little bit ahead of them.
Dave, what do you think about Enochian cosmology?
The Anunnaki?
Yeah, or Enochian, as in like the book of Enoch, Enochian cosmology?
Yeah, there's they're saying the Anunnaki.
No. Yeah, Enochian. Yeah.
If you look on here, I have a couple great videos about Enoch. Fantastic stuff. And it's all makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense. Everything makes sense on a flat Earth. The nonsensical space vacuum fantasy is just stupid. It's just dumb, right? I was just on an hour and a half show. It was an alien show. They love aliens. Aliens and space. They were aware that NASA's full of shit, but they think that they're hiding, extraterrestrials from outer space. And I was showing them that everything they're talking about is real. Abductions, real encounters, crash ships, but it's all happening here on the Earth plane. So there you go. I gotta go on another show in 7 minutes, and I'm gonna lose my voice. So thanks.
Yeah,
dude, you've been going hard ever since Acapulco.
Yeah, this is my fourth show today, and then I'm done for today. But anybody that doesn't know me, flatearthdave.com. If you think flat Earth is stupid, show me one proof and you win 3 Bitcoins. But go to my website first, flatearthdave.com.
Right now, that's a lot.
Go to the crash course and watch 3 videos before you try to tell me that the Earth is a globe, and then you won't. You're going to be like, "Hey, Dave, I'm not getting your Bitcoins, but you screwed up my life." Everybody thinks I'm crazy now, but don't worry. They're all going to come around. Everyone, Flat Earth is going mainstream. It's going mainstream. I don't know when, but it's going to be sooner than later.
Awesome.
Right on,
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for showing
up,
up,
guys.
brother.
Thanks, man.
Later, bro.
Amanda. Later.
Later, David.
You're awesome most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yes. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Right on. All right, folks. And then there was 3.
I love that nickname of yours.
It's just an easy way to get people to know. Like I'll say my name's Yerasimos, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna remember that." So it's just like, just think you're awesome most of the time, which I think I am. Not all the time.
I'm agreeing with that.
But I can get behind most of the time. So
absolutely.
This is a nice little surprise just to jump on here and see both of you for a little bit. I've had
isn't that how random is that?
To be real, I had a pretty full week. My father passed away on Tuesday.
Oh my God.
Sorry to hear that.
Last Tuesday. No worries. I'm not trying to bring a damper to the thing. So
take homeopathic Ignatia. I just lost a cat and I was in grief all week and I couldn't get out of it. Like I was, in that heavy grief blanket, like I couldn't see, and homeopathic Ignatia, 1 dose, it just helps you grieve like in a healthy way, rather than the pain of it and everything. Like, I'm sorry that.
No, thank you. I mean, listen, he was going to be 94 in June, so he lived a very full life.
Oh, wow.
And very full. Obviously, it's it's tough loss for our family and a huge presence in our family, and at the same time, like there's so much to be grateful for. And so, as with grief, it comes in waves, in and out. But yeah, I'll have to take that homeopathic dose. But yeah, I'm back in Jersey with my mom and some family, and I'll probably head back to Topanga in a couple of weeks. But
wow.
Yeah, so it's nice to kind of just be on and chat with y'all for a bit.
Yeah, totally. It's grief is lonely. It can be lonely. I mean, you have family together, but it's still your own.
Yeah, of course.
Your own process. Yeah.
course.
Yeah. And it doesn't even matter how old they are. Like,
Loss is loss.
yeah, it's still a
Yeah.
huge loss, you know.
I mean, it's
So
it's weird even being here where I'm in this house. I'm in my childhood bedroom right now, you know, the
wow.
grew up in. And this is the house I lived in from 0 to 18. And you know, it's kind of a trip to be here and to be like, wow, he's not here. You know, I think the thing with death and the finality of it is like I'll never hear his voice again. I'll never smell him again. Those kinds of things. But I mean, again, like not to bypass, but I'm super grateful for all the time that I had with him and the lessons learned and the impact he had on my life. And you know, I'm going to continue his legacy on by being the best man I could be and standing for my principles and impacting the people in the way that I know how to impact people. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's
Right.
amazing. Really amazing. I
Beth
wish
Martin
you
says
well.
blessings to you too
What'd
Yeah.
you
in the
say?
chat. Beth Martin says
Oh,
sends her condolences.
oh yeah, yeah. Big hugs to Beth.
Yeah, it's funny because in the grand scheme, there's not really death. Like
Mm.
we live forever. There's no beginning and end in that, but the transformation is still there.
Mhm.
And we the living have to have to accept that when we deal with grief and loss and change, especially sudden changes, you know, can rock you and reel you and it's just part of life. We get better and better at it, hopefully. And understanding that as we get older, we're going to lose more people. There'll be more of that behind us, you know. As I get, you know, I'm going to be 50 in August, and I, it's more and more like the losses and the pain. And I use an app actually called Undo app, which is really significant because it's a natural meditation that you walk through, where you go into your body and you find where that grief is or whatever the pain is or whatever you're experiencing, and you sit in it. You don't avoid. You go in it more, and you integrate it through acceptance. And it's really quite beautiful to go through that process. And I highly recommend this type of meditation because traditional meditations have failed me.
Well,
Um,
I'm right. Yeah, I'm there with you. Like I think meditations that don't include the body are incomplete, personally speaking. And yeah, for me, like even in my work and my training, it's just like how can I sit with the feeling? How can I be with it? Where is it in my body? You know, like it's easy in our culture and our society where there's distractions everywhere. It's like let's not face reality. Let's not feel the reality of what's going on within us and have an intimate relationship with our nervous, you know, with our being and just like push things down, you know, whether it's let's grab the drink, let's grab the weed, let's look for the porn, let's scroll on social media, you know, let's continue to distract ourselves from what is really present. And you know, I think that's the biggest thing behind even like nervous system work is building greater capacity to be able to sit with pain and discomfort and be with it and not shy away from it. And so I think that's a big part of the journey, and it's been a part of my journey, and even the stuff that I do with people, the work that I do with people is like, can you be okay with it? You know? So yeah, I appreciate that. Would you say is Undo is the name of the app?
yeah, undoapp.com. Anyone can download it from that website. And I have a code. It's oh dear, I think it's yummy 23 for a free month. There's a free trial, and then if you buy it for the year, and then the code gives you a month off of the price. Worth every penny. It's the gentleman who created it has been meditating for like 40 years, and he's just condensed everything into this format, and it's brilliant. It's really quite life-changing, actually.
No, it's great. And I think it brings up another point, something that, you know, I talk about, Joel and I talk about, even when we think about truth and we even think about the word awake. I personally don't like to use that word because it's a process, but it's like you can be awake to things in the world, in the external world, whether it's the shape of the planet, whether it's, you know, what's going on with the World Economic Forum or whatever, but like how much energy is put in towards the universe that exists within an individual, you know? You know, what are your relationships like with yourself, with your family members? What is the state of your nervous system? How do you deal with disagreements or when there's triggers in your life? And so there's a whole world within the individual that I think sometimes takes the back seat when we're in this like truth seeking world of like figuring out what's happening outside of us. And yet, can we turn that gaze inwards towards ourselves and really know ourselves and who we are on the deepest levels? And how do we decondition from the things projected onto us by family, by society, to really figure out what we value and what our purpose is and how to give those gifts in the world. That's where I put my focus on, you know. Not that I discount the external stuff, that's been a big part of my life as well. But for me, like the internal stuff, the internal terrain, mind, body, nervous system, who we are, what's our purpose, those are the things that really excite me and light me up.
Yeah, on my first course that I designed because of this, what you just said, was about going inward and asking yourself questions about what are my needs, what are my values, what were my goals then? And because people set goals for themselves or have ideas about themselves, and then they grow out of them, but they never revisit that to see if it's still in alignment with who they are now. Even with, this also addresses health goals. I mean, what your health goal was 20 years ago versus where you're at now can be completely different. And you need to reset your body and realign yourself to your principles. And what are your principles? And have your beliefs changed? And what does that mean for you when you're making a decision about something for your life? Because we only have so much time. Time is precious. And so that's the very first course I did, because I didn't even want people taking any of my other courses really until they did that prerequisite to get clear. Because why waste your time on a course you don't even need, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, and I just think that inner work is so important. Because at the end of the day, like if you know all this stuff that's going on in the world, but you're miserable and your relationships are shitty and you're dysregulated and you're addicted to certain substances, what's the point? Like in my opinion. So, yeah.
Someone asked
This
in the
has been,
chats.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Amanda.
Oh, I was just gonna say, someone asked a question I noticed about supplements in Canada, like what they're
Oh,
trying
yeah,
to do with supplements. But here's the thing, like they've been trying to do this forever. This is just like they're yet another rehashing of the same thing, but a lot of misinformation goes out there too. And what they've been doing, and where I was like a whistleblower in naturopathic college about the Codex Alimentarius and the NPN number system that we have here in Canada, is that what they're trying to do is make everything have to go through approval of Health Canada, and they need to be granted this number, and it's costly and timely, and they can tell the individual, oh, we don't want this much of something in the supplement, you have to reduce it, or they get to dictate what it is. And the problem is that ever since that time, we've been losing companies and representation in Canada, which means the diversity of options are very slim. If you go to the United States, you go to Whole Foods or any of those places, you're overwhelmed by choices. Here, you get very few choices, and a lot of the bigger companies have pulled out of Canada because of it. And so they're not trying to halt it like that, because that's what the verbiage is, that they're just trying to stop it. No, they're trying to make it so that that companies don't want to invest in Canada. So you don't get, now you can buy it online, you can get it elsewhere, but really it's just hurting our own economy, because Canada is on a self-destruct mission. That's part of what's happening here.
Exactly.
And so it's not about you having access to it or not. I really don't think they give a crap. I think the goal is to destroy our economies as much as possible under the guise of safety, as they always use the exact same playing card for literally everything, while they, push their shots and push their big agenda and make a lot of money on that. But they're not trying to just stop it. That's not their plan. They want to regulate it into nothing. And we can get around it, though, and I've gotten around it by going into private instead of public. So I operate as a PMA, a private membership association. So if you go to any of my websites like dmso.store, yumnaturals.store, you have to make a login and make an agreement with me. So we have a contract together. So if you have a problem with any of the things that I offer, you come to us. We deal with whatever issue. You don't go to third party. There's no say in the public, right? And that's, if everyone just moved out of the public into the private, which I was going to ask Brandon about, but we didn't get there, then you are making private contracts, which is a whole different place to be, and they don't have the jurisdiction over you. And this is how we have to move forward now. This is the private club for purchasing, which is not really a purchase. It's not taxable. It's an agreement that here, I'm going to give you some of these debt notes for a supplement, right? That kind of thing. So if people are looking to do their own startup from their own kitchen or whatever, then this is the way to protect yourself from the goons that basically want to take a piece of anything you are selling, of course, and also regulate or stop the real good stuff like DMSO from getting into the hands of consumers. Yeah.
Totally. This has been such a good stream, you guys. I think, you know, we've been going on, we're 3 hours now. Erasmus just joined us for the last.
I like jumping in for like the last few minutes.
It's great, man. You made a little cameo. You're going to be at Confluence as well. And why don't we just, in closing, why don't you guys just share with the people where they can find you, and then we'll wrap this puppy up and we'll see each other down in Texas in about a month time or less.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm
Erasmus,
excited.
give us your stuff, brother.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can find a lot of the stuff that I do at hereforthetruth.com. That's my podcast page, but from there also you
Dude,
can
when am I coming on your podcast?
Well, don't worry, man. You're I'm on the list. I gotta talk to you. Riseabovetheherd.co is the website for our 8-week group coaching program. We're about to launch our 9th run of it on March 26th. Friendsofthetruth.co is our membership community that we have. We got a lot of stuff going on in there. But yeah, so those 3 websites. I can't wait to be in Confluence. I can't wait to see y'all. Can't wait to hang out. Can't wait to dance to Mike Winter's sets. It's gonna be a fun time.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
What about your stuff, sister?
Yeah, I've got a lot. I'm super censored. So anything that you follow on any of my socials, you have to hit the bell and you have to come back and interact, and or you don't see me. So Instagram is Amanda with an H, so AMANDHA.V, and then I made, which they're already after, but it's called it's DMSO Doctor, really, to interact. Healthy Dose of Truth, and then my name, Yum Naturals. My internet's being silly. Hold on a sec.
They're
Okay.
censoring you right now as you're trying to give your
Yeah,
information.
they're trying to
you see
shut this
that?
down.
You
They don't
see?
want Amanda sharing her stuff.
That's it. Yummy.doctor is the hub. So yummy.doctor, that's the domain, DOCTOR. That's all my videos, educational materials, blogs, etc. I am on Substack as Amanda D. Vollmer. I am going to start doing a podcast on Substack as well. And
Nice.
I do have membership at yummy.doctor for courses, classes, interaction, community building, all the things we're doing. And then I have my 2 main stores. So yumnaturals.store and dmso.store for, you know, the things that I formulate, all the supplements and options there. There's a lot on offer. And then I have healingwithdmso.com for just, if you just want to get my book, but that's available on all my other websites as well. So hopefully I'll see you in one of those places.
I need to get that DMSO face cream, you know, so I could stay looking young and fresh like you.
Well, you're in luck because there's tons of that at Confluence. So
cool.
You're going to be able to get
Amanda,
hooked
when
up.
you said you're in luck, did you mean you're in luck?
Wink, wink. Yep. I exactly meant that. Yes.
I love it.
How did you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
and
guys
we're
are
writing
awesome.
a book on urine. Mike Cardamone and I are writing a urine book, so that'll be out. We're just getting into the writing. We have the outline and the template now, and now we're going to start getting heavy with the writing. So maybe by next winter, it'll be like ready to go. So you'll get all the urine information there too. So.
I probably won't be able to get a signed copy by Confluence, hey?
Mm-mm.
For my
No, it won't
wife?
be ready.
No. Okay, we'll get it from another time.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for joining
Thanks,
the stream.
Curtis.
Yo, Curtis, thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Okay.
Great, man.
See your
See you,
face.
Erasmus. Okay, good to see you too.
See you guys.
Yeah, take care.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.